And we are live.
Thank you very much. It being 1:30 on July 18th, 2023, it will be pointed out for commencement of these hearings before the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate for the City of Palatka. By way of introduction, my name is Ron Brown. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Florida, and pursuant to city code and Florida statutes, I've been appointed by the City Commission of the City of Palatka to preside over today's proceedings. What we'll have today is not a formal court of law. This is what's called a quasi-judicial proceeding, which means it's like a court of law, but it doesn't follow the same rule. In fact, we do not follow the formal rules of evidence. We do not follow the formal rules of civil procedure as you might find in the court. The state statutes and city code, however, do require that we follow the basic notions of due process and fairness and equality. To that end, we're going to require that all of the testimony that will be given today shall be what we call substantial and competent. That is the standard of the reviewing court when they look at this and say, was the evidence sufficient to prove the allegations that the city has? To that extent, all the testimony that will be given today will need to be sworn. Now today, we normally take everybody one time, but because we have 7 cases, all of which have respondents present, we're going to swear in the individual respondents as their case is called. I would at this time, however, like to ask all those members of the city's code enforcement staff who will be testifying to please stand and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Let the record show that all 4 members of the staff present have taken the oath, and we'll take the oath of everyone who wants your case to go. What will happen today is that the city will be making allegations regarding alleged violations of city code. They'll present facts to show what those violations are. My only task, and the only one that is granted to me by state law and the city code, is to review those allegations to see whether or not they apply the correct law, to see whether the evidence in support of the allegations is substantial and competent, and see whether the owners have been afforded due process of law, and that they have notice of the charges, and they have notice of the date of the hearing, and they have an opportunity to participate in response. It's a basic review. These cases do not go, just so you know, to the city commission on appeal. By law, these cases go directly to circuit court. City commission does not get involved in these at this point in time. And that's an important distinction to make, is that this is not a political circumstance, this is a legal circumstance. My only job is to take a look at the law and the facts and see whether there's a violation. Each respondent will have an opportunity to come in and make statements they may wish to make, presenting the evidence they may wish to present. Please be advised that any evidence presented by the respondents today must be retained by the clerk. And that evidence is a part of the record and will be kept in case there is an appeal. Each individual case will be recorded, and if there is an appeal, that record can serve as a basis for the appeal. I have had any appeals, I don't think, in City of Palatka. I think in my duty in Putnam County, I think we've had a couple during that time. They've fortunately been upheld, but nonetheless, it's not something we anticipate, but it is something that we do plan for, and that's part of the requirement. What will happen is that the city, as I call your case, and ask you to please come up at the microphone, and we'll identify you and swear you in. The city will then make a presentation regarding what ordinance is violated and what the facts are. There will be some audio and some visual presentations that everyone will be able to see on the screens to my right and left. And if you have any questions about those, or you cannot see them or understand something, please let me know. We can have some paper copies that you can take a look at. But these should be fairly accessible to you. You can see what exactly things are. One of our code enforcement officers will be making the case. They're going to get a chance to present their case. And I may have some questions of them during that presentation. After they're done, respondents have an opportunity to make any statements, present any evidence, and ask any questions they may have. At the conclusion of the proceedings, I'll be taking a look at everything and making judgment as to whether or not I believe that a violation has occurred. Please be advised that it is possible that fine can be imposed as a result of today's proceedings. By law, these fines will not take effect today. I mean, in the cases, I think these are all cases of first impression, is that correct? So there'll be no fines that start today. There may be fines that start in the future in the event of non-compliance. The city does not have a code that provides for any administrative fees. You will escape what other jurisdictions may have and charging a fee for the joy of being here. You can appraise them the cost, but that is not something the city has in their code. So that's how this will proceed. It's very straightforward. It is not terribly formal. The only thing I ask is that we do not talk on top of each other. We are trying to create a record that someone looking at this on paper in another jurisdiction may take a look at. And we want to make sure everybody is clearly understood and the facts are clearly laid out. And we'll have to govern that as necessary. We're going to take the cases. Now, we don't take the cases in the order in which they appear on the agenda, but everybody showed up today. And we take them in that circumstance in the order in which you appeared in the room, according to it, staff, and they provided me with that. That being the case number one will be case 2023-105, property located at 1027 South 12th Street. Kitchens, I believe that's you. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You coming up? And just for the record, I do recognize Ms. Kitchens. She's formerly served on the city commission and well known in the community. That's not relevant to the decision today, but I just want you to know why I know her. Could you raise your right hand for me?
I'd like to swear on the Bible, if you don't mind.
You may.
Swear in on anything less is not binding.
Well, that's not
Not for
quite true legally.
Not for
but,
Christians. Go ahead.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God, I do.
Thank you, please. Turn, all right. Whose case? Ms. Green, please proceed.
The first violation, well, the only violation is 30-169, building fronts and sides of building streets or public areas. The mold and mildew were found on either side of the house. Second violation was to repair those that missed elements put back in place. The first observed 6/6/2023. The note of him saying 7/6/23. The green card was signed and returned. Complex posting was 7/6/23. The site posting was 7/6/23.
And Ms. Kitchens is present, and just for the record, Mr. Green, just for those who may wish to have some understanding of what he was referring to. And Aaron, if you can go back and just show them the green card and certified mail, yeah, certified mail envelope in the record.
The green card.
Just the green card.
I have another load in my record.
That's fine. Okay, there's the envelopes here back then. When the law requires that two forms of notice occur. First form of notice by sending certified letter of the charges and the date of the hearing to the official address as recorded in the official records of the property appraiser and tax collectors for Putnam County. That is by state statute. If that letter should not be received and certification shown by the execution of what they call the green card, it's actually a return receipt from the postal service. The city would have to post the property both on the property and at City Hall and sign an affidavit to that effect and bring it out to the record. Ms. Kitchens is here. She clearly has notice, but just so you know, when he talks about the green card or some notice, that's what that is about. Everybody's here today, you're here, which is a good sign, which means you got notice and you know you're supposed to be here with the part of this. All right, this is, as I understand it, a violation of alleged violation of section 30-169 of the City of Palatka Code regarding building fronts and facades, lighting streets or public areas, mold and mildew on the structure, and section 3069, also building fronts and sides of lighting streets or public areas, missing elements.
She's already that violation.
This is really a record. And Mr. Green will be presenting some photographs of that correct in support of it.
Yes, sir.
Did you take the photographs you're about to show us?
Yes, sir.
And do the photographs actually represent the condition of property and data that you took on?
Yes, sir.
All right, please proceed.
This photograph one taken 6/6/23. This picture 1/8.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can this be, now, is 12th Street the front street?
No, sir. Short
Which is
Street.
the front
That's
street?
on Short Street.
Can this be seen from 12th Street?
No.
Okay, so this is
If you go past,
front and sides.
if you go past, if you go further down 12th Street, you can see it coming back. Yes, sir.
Well, the requirement of the ordinance is be visible from a public right of way.
Yes, sir. You
Right.
can see it.
When you took this picture, where were you?
I was on the side, on the corner of 12th and
But you were on the public right of way on the sidewalk?
I was actually in the yard.
Please proceed. Okay, so back up again. So the violation is the mold and mildew on the side of the house?
Yes, sir.
What would be the cure the city would anticipate for that?
Simple press and wash and brush.
Next,
This is 1B. This was taken 7/13/2023.
is this a different side of the house?
The same size, sir.
And where were you standing when you took that?
Same place.
I'm sorry.
Same place.
And again, mildew,
Yes,
pressure washing the solution?
yes, sir.
Okay.
This was taken from 12th Street. Further down towards River Street. It was on the sidewalk.
Right.
And this was taken
Is this the same elevation of the house as we've seen previously?
That's a different side of the house.
Different side?
Yes, sir.
So we've seen two sides?
Yes, sir.
And again, pressure washing
Yes,
required to clear mold.
Yes, sir. Some pressure washing brush.
Okay.
This is the same side, same position. This picture was taken 7/13/2023. It's picture 2B. A simple pressure wash brush,
Okay.
and that's it.
What about missing elements?
She repaired those. You can see what she on the.
So that's, there's been
Yes,
compliance with regard to that?
sir. Yes, sir.
So there's no violation you're now seeking with regard to the second part of 30-32A?
No, sir.
So a pressure washing two sides of the building,
Yes, sir.
this kitchen?
Yes, sir. Do I need to state my name and address over again?
Please.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. First of all, the side of the house he just showed is the north side. That was not cited in the original violations. The pictures very clearly show that he points to the balustrades and the porch. However, on the case that there wasn't be something sneaky pulled on me, I have photographs of 1965 showing that side of the house in the same condition. It is not mold and mildew, it is paint missing. This is 1965. The date can be confirmed because first of all, it's written on the bottom of the picture I copied, and second, I'm in front of the property in my cap and gown, and I graduated in 65. So that was not part of the issue, and I was not prepared to defend that part today, as it was not part of the original violation. In today's case specifically cites south side of the property, which is on Short Street. You can, and I also have pictures, which I didn't give you because I didn't know this part was going to come up, but I have them ready, showing the intersection of 12th and Short Street, showing the front of my house, down from Short Street a little bit, and showing from 20 feet down Short Street and coming a little bit further down, and you cannot visibly see what he's calling mold and mildew from the street. In addition, Short
Just
Street,
so I understand, Aaron, could you go back and show me the photographs?
Yes, sir.
Right, on which I inquired with Mr. Green.
Yes, sir.
All right. This kitchen, I'm looking at photograph 2B, for example. Mr. Green, you testified you were standing where when you took this photograph?
12th Street.
On where?
12th Street.
that's
On
not,
the street?
Yes, sir.
that hasn't been
Within
signed.
the, hang on. Within the right of way of the street?
Yes, sir. Sidewalk.
All right, Ms. Kitchen, you can't see that from 12th Street?
You actually can to some degree, but if you see, you can tell a photo lens, which you did on everything, just point out the violations. Now, this is not part of what was violated. If you look at the photograph he presented, he only points to the porch area. If he had pointed to this area, I would be addressing that, which I am now.
Right, back up. Was the porch area the missing elements segment?
Missing elements and mold.
All right, so he's withdrawn that because he indicated there was compliance.
Right, and he did not have any arrow pointing to that or telling me any way, shape, or form.
She's indicating that when the notice was sent to her, it did not include references to mold and mildew on the sides of the house.
Yes, sir, I did. When I send the cases, the 10-day compliance letters to them, I print the case, and when I print the case, every picture that I have in iWorks are printed on those photos, and I send it to them.
Did you include the statute?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's the question. She's gonna claim that the notice she got did not cite the mold and mildew under 30-32, let's see, 30-169. Mold and mildew in the structure. Now, in my packet,
Only on
Now, look
that
back,
side.
I see a reference to 30-169 subsection D as in Delta. Mildew shall be cleaned from buildings having street visibility, and loose wires such as TV cables should be secured. That's not relevant. Not more than 10% of the building having street visibility may have mildew. Right. This Kitchen, did you get that statutory
I
notification?
saw the statutory notification, but he cited the south side of the house. Those are the pictures he included. Here's the picture for the north side of the house. You can very clearly see he points to the front porch and does not point. I actually wonder why he didn't point to the side, because he's using a telephoto lens. Apparently had to go to my neighbor's yard, which has a no trespassing sign on it and is warranted by the police for nobody to go in there except 4 people.
Well, again, I'm listening to this. Mr. Green stating he took this photo from 12th Street in the right of way. Mr. Green, you used telephoto lens?
Yes.
Okay. What did it look like without the telephoto lens?
Same way I can see it now.
Well,
I mean,
Not really.
again, I can only go by what I see here, guys. What about the other side of the house?
but matter of fact, Mr. Brown, I didn't zoom in on that because I think that if I zoomed in, it'd be a lot closer. You can see the more lot deeper.
Well,
I stayed back.
Here's the thing. It is visible from 12th Street.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kitchen, do you disagree it's visible from 12th Street?
When you come up and you get around 1021, which is right next door to me, if you look to the left, you can barely see it. If my house faces 12th Street. The front of the house faces 12th Street, that 1-story extension faces 12th Street. This is on the side, that is telephoto. That piece, that side of the house right there, the porch is 7 feet wide, the sidewalk is 60 feet from the gate to the front porch. The sidewalk is at least 3 feet wide with another 2 feet going out to the street. That was a telephoto lens. I did not bring, I don't think I have in my packet, pictures showing that I took at the side of the house that weren't telephoto. Now, I would invite you respectively, either today or if you postpone this case to, at some point, either go with me to my property or you drive out and you inspect it yourself.
It's actually a picture of you graduating from high school in 1960.
Yes, and you can see the side of the house,
Where was that picture taken?
right in front of where he says the violation is. It's now mold and mildew. It was actually painted off. You can see the same thing that existed in 1965. Sorry, it's a bad photo. It was a cinematic photograph my dad took.
Was that photo taken with a telephoto lens?
No. My dad is too close to me. We didn't have telephoto lenses on those Kodak cinematic cameras.
Okay, but you can clearly see the entire side of the house.
And you can clearly see the same,
Is it real?
you can see the same, and that's not mildew. That's lack
Well,
of
let's
paint.
hold that thought. You can see some inconsistency in the appearance of the side of the house.
My thing, and I'm not disagreeing with the south side of the house, although he did use the telephoto lens, and I have photos here showing what's visible from the street on the south side. I was not aware of the north side, but the same argument would apply to the north side, which I'm going to apply later. I was not noted of that, only the porch.
Okay, what did the notice to first say about which sides of the house were under subject?
Front, whether the code says building front.
Well, I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what did you notice?
I have it right here, if you'd like to read it.
It should be a part of the record. Do you have the notice you sent?
Yes, sir.
Let me take a look. He has your copy.
You have it in your packet. Right here. There it is. Good, Mr. Brown.
But the notice doesn't talk about the specific facts behind each violation.
And all I could go by was the photographs enclosed.
You got mold and mildew. And you cite you don't cite the code section.
Good, you know.
No, tell me.
I got one right now.
Oh, here it is, that's the something about 30-169 mold and mildew. All right. From that, how is she to know where the violation occurred on a house?
We'll have to address that. Well, now we could write on the house, south, north, south, east.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's the thing about this. We're here. And why isn't this, why do you believe this breed is mold and mildew? I'm gonna ask the sketches why you think it's not, but
From my training and
what does your training tell you is the reason it looks like mold and mildew?
whatever it is, that's deteriorating paint. The other side is more immunity. But we think that we make things like
So,
we might think that's more immunity. So if people the pressure washing and buy anything that's under there, like deteriorated paint, then she would be asked to fix the deteriorated paint. But now we're saying it's more immunity.
Mr. Brown?
so it's obviously inconsistent. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
That was not cited as lack of paint. It's cited as mold and mildew only, not like a paint. It is,
So you're saying that's mold and
and
mildew?
this is, no, I'm saying it is not. This is the south side of the house. If you will look at the photograph that they scanned, that is taken in 2008, you will see exactly the same pattern. When Scotty's was still next door to Staples, sometime around 1990 something, 93 maybe, I bought a 16-foot ladder, thinking I could paint my entire house. I put the ladder up against the south side of the house, and surprised, it only reached to the bottom of the second-story windows. I'd already bought the paint, so I painted as far as, there's a picture, I painted as far as I could reach. So you can see roughly 9 clapboards up beside the windows is where the paint is off. I could not reach any higher, so I stopped painting. Above that, next to the eaves, is where the original paint is faded, but it's still there. That's 2008. If that was indeed mold and mildew, the whole house would be covered by it on that side. It is not mold and mildew, it's paint being on, but I was sided with mold and mildew only.
Well, let me ask you this, from a practical standpoint. So you saying that the piece above where where the white paint is,
Right, where somebody
it needs painting.
that strip, roughly 4 feet by 27 feet long, needs painting.
Do you think that's more than 10% inside of that house?
It's maybe 6%, 1/6, 9 clapboards out of 47.
That's 1/6 of that side?
I counted the clapboards trying to figure the length and depth of it. There's 47 clapboards and there's 9 of them that are unpainted. So whatever percentage 9 is out of 47.
Here's the reason I'm bringing that up. The city code does provide that if it's unpainted or inconsistent painting that exceeds 10%, it has to be painted.
I have no argument.
And so the question you have to ask yourself today is, I mean, I could dismiss this and say, bring it back and with a different notice and paint the house. But the outcome might be, based on what I've heard today, is you're gonna have to paint that house. The part that's unpainted, meet the city code requirement.
I understand that.
So the question is gonna be, how do we wanna do this? We can do it the hard way, and that is we can bring it back, have another hearing with regard to the question, the need to paint the house, but it looks like to me is, and I'll take your testimony on that it's unpainted, but if it's unpainted, it'd still be a violation of a code that's admittedly not before me today.
I realize that.
And so the question you ask yourself is, how you wanna do this? I mean, we can,
I thought about that. The question for you today only is mold and mildew. Since it is not mold and mildew, I can't be charged with mold and mildew. I have another issue on that, but that's 2008. You will note that's 2008.
well, that's irrelevant to what we have today.
Not really.
What we have today is what the condition of the property is today, and whether that condition violates a code provision.
Okay,
One thing I'm moving.
let me cut to the snapper then. I could not be charged for something that occurred before the city code changed the law. Jack Massey was grandfathered in. He bought his property in probably in the 50s, the Mellon House on Emmett Street. In 1983, they put the historic district on top of his property. He was an instant violation of the historic district. He could not be cited for it because the condition existed before the codes was changed. In July the 10th, 2022, when I was on the commission, and probably the only no vote, the city of Palatka removed homestead from being protected from codes violations. July the 10th, 2014, that condition is right there, probably before 2008, but there's a photograph in 2008 showing it existed prior to it being illegal. Therefore, how can you cite me for something that existed prior to it being illegal? Based on the ex post facto law of the United States Constitution, which says you cannot be held responsible for a crime that was committed that wasn't a crime when you committed it. That happened, and you can see very clearly it was that way prior to 2014. Therefore, I say that it's exempt because it's grandfathered in. That would also apply to the north side of the house.
Well, again, the only thing the code does is take a look at what the condition of the house is today and whether that condition today violates the code.
I understand that, but you as the
I don't
magistrate,
know that whatever condition of the house was in the previous time is relevant to the question of what is the condition today.
what's relevant is, did it exist before the law went into effect?
I don't think it works that way, but you're
It
entitled
actually,
to
it
take
actually does work that way, sir, and you have the authority to determine that.
take that up on you. I don't have the jurisdiction to make that rule. As to whether it's an goes back to the law, that's something you have to take up to the court to see if they agree with you. on
Well, the
that.
point is, Jack Massey in the city of Palatka, forgetting about ex post facto, he was grandfathered in. The South Historic District complained about him for years, and they were told they cannot cite him, the city cannot cite him because the law did not make him in violation. He was in violation prior to the law, and they could not go back and violate him,
You're
period.
saying he was told by whom?
City codes enforcement at the time. There were numerous complaints from the South Historic District for years. When Jack Massey sold the property to Dr. Curzo, AKA Seminole, Maria Seminole, then they started the codes violations on the property, which exists today.
Well, here's what's going to happen. I don't think you got notice of the fact that there was no paint,
I did not.
all right? And you apparently complied with the issue of the balustrade,
I did.
all right? If the city would now like to bring back the subject of no paint, that's up to their discretion and jurisdiction of what they would like to do. However, if you bring this back, I'm going to want to see some case law about jurisdiction that I have to make a rendering on whether or not that's ex post facto work. Because my jurisdiction is to take a look at municipal laws, which by Florida law are deemed to be constitutional and valid unless shown otherwise. Unless you got a showing that that law is invalid or unconstitutional, I'm going to take a look at it and say it's valid. And if that's something another court wants to look at, that's fine. That's not my jurisdiction. I don't have the authority under the statutes that create this operation to make that determination. But I will make a determination as to whether that law applies. And just from what you told me, and you took it an oath,
Yes.
that it's not.
And I'm glad you brought up case law. I threw an ex post facto because I felt that was probably what they used to exempt Jack Massey. However, I gave you a copy of
Probably is not a standard of review.
Probably not, but regardless of that, and this has been happening, I've been involved with the city since 1987. I was on the commission for 9 years. And any law that happened prior to the law being, anything that happened prior to the law being changed was always called grandfathered in. Now, you talk about case law. I have presented you in the packet. You've got a copy of it. If you don't, I have it here. The Florida Constitution specifically prohibits any liens or foreclosures on homestead property. There's also cited a case where the Supreme Court upheld the applicant against the county who wanted to put a codes lien on a homesteaded piece of property. The city code 2-288 under violations specifically excludes homesteaded property from violations and liens. 30- this code is wants to put codes and violations when it's in contradiction to the city code as well as the state constitution. However, I'm willing for you to dismiss this today. Let codes come back with the paint issue, and I will address that.
So what you're telling me is that if this house were painted when you graduated from high school and the paint subsequently disappeared after the violation of the code, after the enactment of the code, it would be a violation, right?
It would be a violation of stopping in essence, but I showed that it was much later than that, 2008. But yeah, it's the same principle, yes.
Okay. And then you're saying that, well, if it was unpainted before the enactment of the code, it's not a violation.
That's right.
And I don't know that code enforcement works that way. You know, the legislature in its infinite wisdom passed chapter 162 of the Florida statutes, create code enforcement and create a special magistrate circumstance. And what I can tell you is, you know, they can be enforced, and if you've got a reason why they can't be enforced, that's fine. The only thing they look at is whether there's a violation today.
Well, I realize that, and that's
If you say you can't enforce there's something that's a violation today, and everybody's gonna come in and say, well, this is in time immemorial, there's never a violation. That doesn't work.
I'm referring specifically to homestead property, which is exempt to protect them. The Florida Constitution is upheld by the U.S. the State Supreme Court. Now, I'm fully prepared to take this to the district court and appeal it. I had also planned prior to this coming up, which is probably why I've been called up here in the first place, because you know I'm very outspoken before the city commission. I had already planned to appear before the city commission, ask them to change their codes 30-166 and 167 back to what it was prior to 2014, so it would not violate the state constitution. That word got around, and here I'm called in, and I might point out that Commissioner Tammy McCaskill Valentine's property directly across the street belonged to her husband. It is clearly visible from the street, was not cited by codes. Property on the corner of 10th and River Street, owned by New Door Realty. The manager is current city manager, Jonathan Griffith. It was not cited for codes either, while the property across the street from him was. They're doing selective codes, as you mentioned at the last meeting.
If you'd like to file a complaint, I'm sure they would take on.
My complaint will be filed in court, sir.
It's fine. You know, if you're talking about code enforcement, usually driven by complaints, although code enforcement, if they observe a violation, has the authority to file a complaint based on their observations of violations. By the way, there are no longer any anonymous complaints.
Right.
In Florida. So where this is going to go, I'm going to leave it with you. They didn't notice you of the paint being the issue today. But I have to tell you that unless there's some reason, you know, for the law not to work, if they come back and that's not painted, you're going to have to deal with it.
I have no problem with that part, but I also would like to present to the record and give you the pictures showing that this is not visible from the street.
No, and you know, it's all out there. I'm sure everybody's heard the arguments, but right now we're going to dismiss this one based on the fact that the notice was sufficient for the claim that was made. But I just have to tell you, from all the evidence presented, it's unpainted more than 10% of the house on those two sides. And that's something that's going to have to be addressed.
I do plan to address that, and I wanted to anyway. And when it comes back, I will ask for an extension so that I expect a 76-and-a-half-year-old woman with vertigo will have time to find someone to put a ladder up against the house so I can go up and paint it 2 or 3 feet at a time and move it. I need the time to do that. That will be asked for at the next meeting after code stops me for the non-painting.
And for what it's worth to you, you're not the first one to come before a special magistrate or code enforcement board and claim a hardship based on whatever issue. But that's unfortunately a duty of property ownership, is to satisfy the code.
Yeah, I'm not claiming hardship. I'm just saying that when I do come back, I will need time to address the issue,
And that's
which is what you usually give in cases like this.
and that's something that certainly cities granted before, but again, that's up to them to decide how much they think is appropriate.
Well, I also heard the magistrate meeting where you granted a lady whose husband was incarcerated and the city wanted to do, I think it was 30 days, and you quizzed Mr. Cutright as to why the city was in such a rush. And after he finally hemmed and hawed and gave you an answer, he said because the city wants it done rapidly. And if memory serves me correctly, she was allowed 7 months until December when her husband got out of jail.
I
So he could
believe
fix the
that's
property.
something that the city agreed to.
Exactly.
That's not me.
But but you helped urge them on, sir.
I'm just telling them what the situation is, what's reasonable.
Exactly.
So here's what's going to happen is you need to think about. The only reason people get in front of me is because there's been an issue with compliance. And the city is required by law to make an effort before they bring a complaint for you to try to get compliance. Now, did that happen in this case? And what efforts did the city make to try to get compliance before they brought this?
Send a 10-day voluntary compliance.
I'm sorry,
We sent a 10-day voluntary compliance.
did you talk with her?
No.
See her? Okay.
The first notice I had, Mr. Brown, Your Honor, was a certified letter that I got saying I had 10 days to comply, stating the time was July the 4th. I got the letter on June the 27th. Further, the code's notice to you said I was notified on the 22nd of June. I have the envelope showing that the certified letter was not taken to the post office on the 23rd of June, and I did not receive it until the 27th, so the time frame is off.
Mr. Brown, and that, voluntary compliance letter, it says you have 10 days, not late, and then it says to comply. If you have any questions, you can contact Palatka Code Enforcement.
And again, there's no fine that I can impose today. The only thing the city wants is compliance.
I appreciate
So
that.
if y'all are gonna fight this to the tooth and nail on painting this house, fine, that's up to y'all. I'll be glad to sit here and hear this. But like I said, the only thing the city wants is compliance. They really don't want anybody's money, as far as I can tell.
I have no problem with that, Mr. Brown. I have a problem with the Methodist, and I listened to the magistrate meeting, and what I heard appalled me. Codes, wrong addresses, wrong everything, that really appalled me. However, I have no problem with painting the house. I wanted to do it. If I think I've got a way to get it done. I will do it for myself, and I'll be in
And
compliance.
when do you think you can get it done?
I don't believe, unless I want to commit suicide, that I'm going to do it during this hot weather when the humid heat index is 118 and they warn you to stay out of the sun, then I'm going to go up on a 34-foot ladder in the sun and paint the house.
Ms. Kitchens, are you telling us that you're the one that's gonna climb the ladder?
You're damn right I am.
Okay, I'll leave that to you, but
I'm
it's
the
not something I would necessarily recommend. I'm turning 75 this year, like
So
I
you
say,
can
I probably wouldn't want to do that.
I don't want to do it.
I'm not
I don't
you.
want to do it,
I'm not you.
but I will do it because I will. And if I can get the ladder, I will do it. And I plan to do it. But I need, I think the meeting in December, the 19th, if it comes back, if I get extended to that, that's past the warm weather, I should be able to do it without having a heat stroke. Painting the front porch and bringing that into compliance almost killed me. I got sick a couple of times in the heat. If I'd known about the other side of the house, I would have dealt with that.
I can't speak for the city, but there's a very good chance you might be back here in August.
Mr. Brown, I fully expect to be back here in August. In fact, I'll relish it.
All right, we look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
And let the record show that this kitchen has sent me 2 photographs that I marked R1 and R2 for responding pointing to, which are portraits of her in June 1965 at her graduation. Thank you for that and showing. Okay. Are we having fun?
Having a blast.
Next case is going to be section, case 2023-21, property located at 200 Main Street. And I have the name of it, the owner from Episcopal Church of the Diocese of Florida, Inc., here at 50 Marks Episcopal Church. That's what also. The alleged violation of section 30-169. The statute will apply inside of budding streets and public areas, brick underskirting, sidewalk family, and repair of play, personal life, and fish, things. Mr. Taylor.
Do you want to swear someone in?
I've known Mr. Taylor for you, and who are you with? Coming up to Mike.
Okay. Good, Mike.
Hello, my name is Denise Robinson. I'm the dinner warden at St. Mark's Episcopal Church, responsible for the racing grounds.
Thank you for coming today. Mr. Taylor.
Bob Taylor, 261 West River Road, member of the St. Mark's Episcopal Church.
Ed Dowdy, I'm an architect, and I'm chairman of the Architectural Review Committee for the Episcopal Diocese.
And will all 3 of you be testified?
Probably.
Raise your right hand for me, please. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Let the record show that all 3 respondents have indicated in the affirmative. And, okay. You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm
Please
ready.
proceed.
Yes, sir. This is case number 2023-021, location 200 Main Street. This was first reserved February 7th, 2023. The notice of hearing was sent July 5th, 2023. We did receive the green card back signed. The complex posting was July 6th, 2023, and the site posting was July 10th, 2023.
You got the green card and you posted?
Yes, sir, both.
Prior to today's hearing, have you had any contact with any representatives of the church?
Yes, sir, I have.
What's been the nature of that contact?
This started back in February, and the church was working on trying to have this building demolished, which that didn't happen. So our next step was trying to get the building secured, because it's basically just a shell. And they have done a lot of the work that they needed to do. There's just a little bit left. But this has been going on since February, so we got it in front of the magistrate today.
So what you're telling me is that progress did not suit the city at this point?
Yes, sir, we're still in battle, and of course, they are doing some rebuttals with the historic, but we're trying to work with them, but we just need the building. We discussed it a little bit yesterday, me and Mr. Taylor, about how to fix the underskirt, because you can actually go up underneath the house and inside.
All right, please show me what you have. For the record, the violations were, alleged violations of section 30-169 of the City of Palatka Code, specifically subsection A. All deteriorated structural developments visible from the public right of way should be repaired or replaced. B, every such part of the structure visible from the public right of way or abutting a street should be structurally sound. Rotten or weakened portion should be removed, repaired, or replaced in a manner compatible with the rest of the structure or to match written materials and construction techniques. All exposed wood should be stained painted, every part should be stained with graffiti, litter, or debris. The surfaces are one painted or stained, not more than 10% of the surface is debris or stained. That's the statute recited.
That's correct, sir.
All right, show me what you have in terms of.
So right now, what we have left is, these are they're missing wood, and you can see right through the house. So the city, to satisfy us right now, would like that covered,
What does that mean?
either board it up or replace the wood.
So it's not compliance yet, and you're still asking
Yes,
for
sir.
a violation note for them?
Just for the 30-169, the missing wood.
So what specifically needs to be done?
On these two holes, if they could comply and board this up, because you can enter the house through these little holes.
Is this house subject to historic preservation?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is the historic preservation board have anything to say about this?
Probably.
Definitely, sir. It's a Welsh land director.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony shall give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
There it is.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Historic Preservation Board would not have to take a look at this. It's ordinary repair. I can approve it at the staff level. But it would still need to be reviewed by me.
Don't go away just yet. What else do you have in terms of violations?
Yes, sir. If we go on to the next picture. That's going to be 2A. It was an update from the follow-up. This here was originally taken on February 7th, where the bottom is still, it's unsecured, and you can actually make entryway from underneath the house.
And for the record, did you take all the photographs you're showing?
Yes, sir, I did.
And do they actually represent conditions for the video that you took?
Yes, sir, they do.
Okay, so what, is this just the extending the siding down? to
Yes, sir.
What level?
To the bottom of the floor, to the ground level.
On both sides?
Yes, sir. It goes around the left side and then to the right front of the house.
Okay, go back to the previous photograph. Is that visible from the public street,
Yes, sir, it is.
on Main Street?
It is on North Second Street.
It's on the corner.
Yes, sir, right there on the corner.
Next photograph, go back to number 2A. Is this visible from? the
Yes,
street?
sir, it is visible. It is on, that's the North Second Street.
Please proceed.
And that's just an updated picture that I took on July 11th, and you can still see where it's open. And this is just the back part of the house. They've secured everything that needed to be secured, so now it's basically just a paint issue.
Painting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's just an updated photo that I took July 2nd, July
3D.
11th. Yes, sir.
Is this side visible from the right?
Yes, sir. That would be Madison.
Anything else?
No, sir. Everything else they come in compliance with.
So what you're telling me is the violation is requiring painting
Yes,
the
sir.
unpainted portions. There are two sections of the siding that need to be replaced on the corner, this corner.
Yes, sir.
One D, and then the extending the siding on another corner down to,
To secure the skirting part, yes, sir.
showing in two A. And how long has this been going on?
We started working on this in February.
Has there been progress?
There has been progress. They have come into compliance, was able to secure a lot of the buildings, the broken windows. Like their initial goal was to demolish it, so we're trying to now work towards at least getting the building secured.
Lisa, is there anything here else that historic architectural gets involved with?
Not at this time.
They don't need a review for any of this.
As long as they're using like for like materials.
All right,
So if it's
very
wood
good, thank
siding,
you.
they're using wood siding, I can approve it.
You may be excused.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, how much time do you want to give them to do this?
So I have 30 days down here, Judge, August 17th, 2023.
Okay, Bonds? Aye.
Mr. Brown, if I may, just to correct the record, the address of the church is 200 Main Street. The address of this building is 312 North Second Street, just so we're talking about the same building. to start.
Where do we get the 200
Our property appraiser.
property appraiser thing? That, they're required by law to cite the address of the property appraiser. That's
Well,
what.
that's okay, just so long as.
No,
everybody
it's
understands that
It's the same building. It's the same building.
two buildings.
We're talking about the same building.
I became junior warden for the church buildings and grounds in March of last year. And between the time that we completed the work on the church, the restoration work post Irma, which included new roofs on all the buildings, we intended to restore this building, frankly. It was usable. We were using it to do painting and restoration work, which happened in the rest of the church. One of our donors basically wanted to financially pay for the restoration of the building because he had done some work in one of our other buildings. He brought in a company called Alpha Foundations to take a look at what was happening around the bottom of the building, and their review of the building resulted in that appearance. We were very proactive in the sense that I invited Mr. Cartwright to come see it. He sent Mr. Green to come see it. Mr. Green can tell you that the inside of the building truly is a shell to where you can see through to the ground, because they removed all the wood that was damaged beyond repair, basically. So at that point, it became pretty obvious that it was going to take a whole lot more money than we had in our little 35 family member church to restore this building. So I just wanted to explain how we got to this place.
What can the church do about it? Right now, what I'm hearing from the city is that they'd like the siding replaced. The two squares that are in the other side of the building filled, and then how many sides do they need to have painted?
The whole building would need to be repainted, but if in fact, it would make more sense to tear the building down and we can get permission to do that.
That's not what's before us today.
I understand.
With regard to that. And this is historic review, architectural, question to tear it down.
It's in the historic district.
Okay, and I can just tell you from past experience, they're kind of loath to let anything be torn down, if not say it cannot happen. But again, that's not a question that's before us today. So, well, I mean, what's the end game for the city here?
Right now, to satisfy the city, we'd like to have the building secured and painted.
In other words, the siding place
Yes, sir.
and the entire thing painted,
It's about 80% that needs to be repainted.
80%?
80%.
80%. All right. Mr. Taylor, you are here. Thank you. What is all that going to cost and what's the feasibility of getting it done?
It's hard to kind of put a number to it. There's so much that needs to be done. As Ms. Robinson said, the interior of the house has been completely gutted. Before the roof was installed, it suffered rainwater infiltration. The interior plaster was a gypsum plaster, woodlap, and all of those suffered. They are literally removed. That particular corner that you're looking at suffered some structural damage. The column itself is eroded away. It's been patched and repaired, but it's in poor condition. I had a little statement, Mr. Brown, sure, perhaps. I've got copies of this. I didn't make perhaps enough. If one could other thing will make this group. Thank you. Yes, sir.
At least it doesn't weigh, families.
Sure.
At least it doesn't weigh it down.
That's right. And I'm probably gonna give you a kind of a Reader's Digest overview of what's in the document. As you probably know, the St. Mark Episcopal Church has been on this site since 1853. A renowned architect, Richard Upjohn, was the creator of this particular project. And his renderings he created the original rendering from which our building was built. He's also created some templates for other buildings, Gothic Revival, Carpenter Gothic, which have been used throughout the St. Johns River region. St. Mark's legacy as a leader in the community is renowned. I mean, we were community builders, the fledgling state of Florida, spiritual, cultural, social and political leaders, as well as economic investors and drivers. The 19th century Sanborn maps will show that the church has been on this site since the 1850s, and it shows that buildings have been removed, relocated, remodeled, and added to basically at the discretion of congregants of the church. There are 5 buildings on this site now. The sanctuary, which is on Main Street, the James House, also on Main Street, the parish hall, which is on 2nd Street, the old rectory, which is the building in question, and the administration building and classrooms, which are on Madison Street. Unfortunately, as with many churches at this time, attendance and financial support has been dwindling, and requirements even for basic maintenance have increased dramatically. So it is difficult for us to allocate funds sometimes for certain projects, but we have been diligent. The chronology that I identified here, I call it the St. Mark's Episcopal Stewardship Effort. Starting in 2009, the church made an effort to have the James House relocated to another property. Richard Holman, who was the author of an update for the master site file, said the James House was important primarily because of its age. And it was an attractive house, but it was added to and was cited inconsistently with a house typical for this district. In our application to the state and the local historic preservation boards, we got approval from the Bureau of Historic Preservation, the Assistant City Planner, the Northside Neighborhood Association in partnership with the City of Palatka and the Putnam County Historical Society. Preparations were made to remove some of the porches and roofs, which were in structural degrade and termite infestation, but unfortunately, moving the building was not done. So unfortunately, it's left in its current state. The church again has made efforts to determine the structural integrity of its 5 buildings. In 2011, they hired an engineer, Adun Sabuni, to produce these reports. But again, funding was unavailable. In 2022, the church did apply for and obtain a small matching grant, which allowed us to produce documents which highlighted the structural characteristics and things that were important as far as mechanical, plumbing, electrical, architectural for these buildings. Recently, as early as today, we found out that this application to the state was awarded, and we will get funded to produce construction documents focusing on the repair and restoration of the James House. Hurricane Irma was a significant hurricane for the state of Florida and caused significant damage to numerous buildings in our area. The roof of the sanctuary was damaged, which allowed water to infiltrate into the sanctuary, saturating carpets, upholstery, fabrics, woodwork, and the like. And unfortunately, that also caused power to be out for about 8 days. And the mold and mildew buildup inside of the church was devastating. The church, through its own auspices and with the assistance of some assistance from FEMA and insurance companies, was able to restore the interior of the sanctuary and they've been able to purchase and install a generator to help maintain moisture and humidity control. The bell tower and roof had to be replaced, and the roof has been replaced on the bell tower with copper, which is befitting the architectural character of the time. 3 other buildings on site, which includes the parish hall, the old rectory, 312 North 2nd Street, and the James House, also fitted with these standing seam metal roofs, which are, in my opinion, some of the best roofs available. The organ inside the church was originally installed in 1929. It also suffered damage. And we're endeavoring to have it repaired and restored. We've gotten estimates on that, which exceed $100,000. I mentioned that FEMA and insurance did help to provide some of the repairs and restoration, but the balance has been made up by the St. Mark's Church, visitors and families. In 2015, the church applied for a special grant for the parish hall, and unfortunately, that grant was not awarded. We applied a second time, and it was again unsuccessful. So from 2017 on to 2022, repairs for the parish hall were accomplished by the church itself and by labor, by donations, and by a church volunteers. In 2021, another small matching grant was acquired to produce studies for both the James House and the 312 North 2nd Street facility, which has promoted the options and opportunities of renovating one of these 2 buildings. Obviously, we focused on the James House because it's much smaller and the practicality of doing that. St. Mark's has provided meeting facilities for scouts, AA meetings, pilot club, in February through April, the AARP, income tax preparations. We provided donations to the community, the Bread of Life, Feed the Need, Sherry Putnam County for supplying home pantries. We have a continuing stewardship from the church, and we've been diligent and frugal with our time and talents and money. Most of the improvements, repairs, reconstruction, re-roofing, and replacing, even organ repairs have been accomplished by the generosity and faithfulness of the people of and the St. Mark's Church. I have a couple of booklets with me that will show you the detail in which we've evaluated the James House and 312 North 2nd Street, and they're very detailed, shows the structure and the architecture and the things that we would have to do to accomplish renovations and restorations.
And for the record, the issue before us is the James House.
Beg your pardon?
The house before us is the James House.
No, it's the 312 North 2nd Street is the one that we're
So
talking
the
about.
one that's relevant to us today is that house.
That's correct.
Tell me about that one. What is the church on that one?
The status of 312 North 2nd Street is such that, you know, we allocated our resources and funding in such a way that we think we're going to choose the James House, which is a more practical restoration of the church.
Mr. Brown, this is Valeria Thomas.
Sorry?
This is Valeria Thomas, Mr. Brown. I understand the presentation is going on, but the matter before you today is the non-secure of the property located at 312 North 2nd Street. And the testimony that is being given is not addressing the violation that's being presented today for your consideration.
My question to Mr. Taylor, and thank you very much for that. We are talking about 312 North 2nd, and that's why I asked him what the church's position is on that building.
We would like to comply with the requirements of the city ordinance. We think that we can continue to patch and repair the missing siding and so on that's in the perimeter. It will be difficult in some of those cases because the structural adequacy of the framing is such that it may not hold nails. You may.
Was there an effort to demolish the building?
There is a desire on some people to
Have you
demolish.
investigated the likelihood you can get permission to demolish this building?
Not lately.
Not lately.
No.
When you have apparently tried previously.
Yes,
What was the result?
it was rejected.
Why? For what reason? For what reason?
I think it was because it was deemed historical.
Can I ask the historic architecture folks to come up and keep me straight on this? We're looking at options. And your name for the record, please.
He's the law planning director, city.
All right, you know, I'll swear you in again. Solemnly swear from the testimony you give today to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, sir.
Right, can this building be demolished?
That's not my decision. That's up to the historic preservation board.
What would be the scheme?
The standard. They don't really have much criteria in the way that
Well, let me ask you, what's the standard under the city's code for demolition of a building in a historic?
there's a procedure that it has to go through for the process to make the application to the board reviews it, and they make that decision. I have to write a staff report. And then approval. There's, forgive me, I don't have the exact criteria in my head right now, that's in the code. But most of the time, like I said, I don't make that decision on the board that makes sense. But
So has there ever been an application from the church regarding the demolition of this building to your knowledge?
that's 2 years.
Were you here when it was, they applied previously?
Yes, sir, I was not.
Does the city have any records of that?
I don't.
You know, you may
I
not.
don't know the answer to
I know
that.
you weren't prepared on that. I'm just curious as to what the alternative. Because right now, I'm hearing that there's a violation, and it looks like there is one. The question they're bringing up is feasibility of fixing it. We've heard that before, but the property owner has a duty to take care of the property. If one of the alternatives is demolition, we have no idea really what the likelihood of that even is. And I don't know anyone is telling me any reason why it could be demolished or any reason why the demolition was not allowed previously. And that's, again, not something I can look at today. I'm just looking at whether there's a violation today. So if they came in and said, I want to demolish the building, that satisfies the city in terms of compliance, you go through that process.
Yes, I can answer that, Mr. Brown. The main compliance right now is making sure they secure the building. We'll be willing to work with them to either on the painting or getting it demolished through the historical planning
Well, I
board.
want to be fair to them too, but I want to be fair to the city. What secured the building?
Well,
In practical terms.
the two holes that were shown on the right side of the building, secure those with either plywood or whatever you want to secure, where you can use the same material there, and then the underskirt that you see where it's really coming up. Plywood will be fine, but if you can repair it with the same material that it was, that'd be great, but we just want to make sure there's no easy entrance into the house. That's the main line.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, can I ask you something?
Yes, sir.
I don't think the city's giving up on painting it, but they're basically saying you need to secure it. That is, fix the siding in places which have indicated the two squares, rectangular openings on the side of it, and then the siding goes down to the ground on that one. Can that be done?
I think the siding can come down to the rim board around. There's a foundation.
Fine.
Yeah,
Would that satisfy the city?
Yes,
You say that was satisfy. Can that be done within a reasonable time?
I think so. Yeah, don't you think that's fine?
Well, the city's asked for 30 days.
You know, again, we have to check with our custodian to see if he can accomplish, but it
Right,
seems
we
like.
do have a maintenance person, and if it's down to the rim board, then yes, we can probably do that.
What we're gonna do about the painting?
We will work with the historical board and see what time they can give them on the demo. And if they give them the demo permit, then they will have to paint it. So if you can't demo it, then we would give you, once we go through those proper hearing channels with the hearing, so we give you that 30-day timeline after that is finished, after that hearing is done.
So what you're saying is, it's okay with the city, they got 30 days to repair the openings in the siding. But if they want to demolish it, they're going to make an application for demolition instead of painting.
Yes,
How much time would you expect them to make that decision?
and that will be Ms. Walsh, but I think the planning board meets like twice every. Is Ms. Walsh you there? When is it?
I mean, I answer my question. You know, they've got to make a decision. They need the church,
Okay,
because whether they want to even go there. So how long are you going to give them?
We would give them 60 days to make that decision about demolishing or painting. The securing the building is for 30 days. They would have to have the building secure within 30 days. But they would have to come into Ms. Walsh's office and submit that application.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think the city's entitled to some enforcement. Do you have something like that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, what you
Do
say?
you have anything you'd like to add? The city, what I hear the city saying is 30 days to repair the site, and then 60 days to decide whether you want to try to demolish it or to.
We were wondering how long the application process to the historic board, about how long would that take, process?
And there, as I understood, the 60 days is to apply to demolish.
We require an application to be submitted in a minimum of 5 weeks prior to the next meeting. But I can also tell you that we are behind in our processes, so it would probably be at least 2 months before it got for the historic preservation board. For the demolition requirement.
And that's why I said apply. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find there's a violation of 30-169, due to the building fronts and sides. 3 areas. 1, the missing siding that fails to go down to the rim board. I'll use that term. The 2 rectangular openings that are about halfway up the one side of the building that's been shown. And then the painting. The respondents will have 30 days to repair the siding issues, 2 siding issues, 60 days to decide whether they want to repaint it or to seek demolition. Okay. All right. So you need to stay in touch with Ms. Lowe over here. She's unfortunately, I don't know who you've been working with, but Christy will be glad to help you with anything that you need to say. Understand that. Everybody understands how difficult it is. You've been through other hearings here today. There'll be others, I guess, after this. So we'll have all kinds of rationales going on. And for what it is worth to you, the city of Palatka is undergoing some changes now. And you may have heard that there is a great deal of interest in upgrading the appearance and structural safety of the city. This is what a lot of this is about. And anyone out there is subject to some review at this point. So you don't feel picked on. In this kitchen, you shouldn't feel picked on either with regard to that.
I have proof I have been.
That's fine, but that's not in this case. The, this is, work this out, you're gonna need to make a tough decision, and, I'm not historic review, but I can tell you that there's some people who have some very strong feelings about something that's here, shouldn't disappear. And, that's up to them to decide, in terms of what's going to go. But church needs to make some hard choices with regard to that, so does the city. Okay, any questions?
If I might ask,
Sure.
Mr. Cartwright or Ms. Lisa, when it comes time for the historic group to make a decision on our building, will it be necessary for them or required of them to come and take a condition report on that building? And that is why we left that foundation uncovered, so that when we got to the point where we couldn't get any funding, we couldn't get any donations, and we couldn't get any volunteers to finish the work, working external. We left it open so you could see what the foundation issues were, because Alpha Foundation turned around and said, no way, there's no way.
Is it necessary to destroy this siding?
We would welcome that.
Well, my point being, if you put it back, can you put it back in such a way you don't have to destroy it to take it? That's a question.
It would, for what purpose? It would be like a postcard or a picture. It wouldn't be usable.
Also, I'm saying, she brought up the point
Yeah.
that.
No, I just wondered if that was part of the review process in terms of.
I can't tell you that.
So,
Mr. Cartwright?
Well, I can't speak for what the planning board would do about seeing if it's demolished or not, but if you just apply the plywood down there, remove one piece of plywood to show them the deterioration of our building, should probably be historic preservation.
Because we've not been through this process before, so.
What you should do is, spend the time talking. Leave the meeting in the back and make sure you're familiar with what's going on. Stay in touch with the code enforcement officials with regard to this. They're pretty accessible. And they'll be glad to respond to you in terms of what needs to be done. If there's an issue, stay in touch with them. Okay? And they're the ones that make determinations whether there's compliance with the order. Okay, very good. Stay in touch with them with regard to that. So you'll get an order in the mail regarding the outcome of this. All right? Thank you very much for coming today. Your patience. Thank you. That's right. That AC probably should be reduced in number of 1 or 2 digits. So that you-
A lot of hot air, is that what you're
I don't know that it has to do with anything regarding the temporal seating, the weather outside, or what. I remember when this building was a post office, and trust me, it wasn't air conditioning, it was a post office. And it was hot then, and it's not really built for what we're doing there.
Yep.
Yeah, didn't have this many people in it. All right. Well, you're just picking up, you did very well. Next is, case number 2023-29. Looks like. Is the first name on this?
It's, Gerald and,
Gerard
Gerard.
and Peter Edward.
yes, sir.
All right, are they here?
Yes, sir.
Please come forward. Well, this is case number 2023-29, property located at 2201 President Street. And we have Gerard and Priscilla Edward, who are the owners of the record. And for the record, could you both come and identify yourself for the record? What's your name?
Edward Ice.
Edward
Ice.
Ives, that's your last name?
Jen Gerard. Edward is the last name.
Edward is your last name.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking which one was which. So Edward is, but you go by Ives.
I thought you were my godfather.
You'll go by Ives. And you are Priscilla?
Priscilla, I am
Priscilla.
the sister of Senator. You must know that we are George Street.
There you go. All right, raise your right hand for me. Raise your right hand. Are you going to testify? All right. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Right. And are you the owners of the property at 2201 President Street?
I am
Surely.
the one, my husband, and then I introduced you.
Okay. So we have you here. And you received notice of the hearing in the mail, is that correct?
Sorry.
All right, you received notice. And can you understand me, okay?
Yes, I do. I do.
All right, very good. I'll make sure everybody's on the same page with what we're doing. All right, what's going to happen is you put before, this is Ms. Lowe's case. She's going to make a presentation regarding the alleged violations. It looks like the allegations are for 5 of them. The allegation regarding 30-169 is the city code, building fronts and sides of letting public streets or areas debris on the roof of the house. Okay. 30-169 building fronts and sides, letting streets and public areas mold and mildew. 30-169 building fronts and sides, letting streets or areas rotten and weak and mildew. 30-32A 12, prohibited conditions and public nuisances, failure of the owner's land to keep any sidewalk or abutting the property all parkways to the curb line, free and clear of all weeds and growth. 94-193, parking with those unlicensed vehicles, commercial vehicles, in residential zones, of the allegation, I think, boats, trailers, golf carts, and trucks in the yard unlicensed. All right, Ms. Lowe.
Yes, sir. This is case number 2023-029. This was first observed February 21st, 2023. The notice for the hearing was sent July 5th, 2023. We did not receive the green card back, signed. Complex posting was done July 6th, 2023, and site posting was done July 10th, 2023.
Just for the record, you didn't get the green card back. Is your mailing address, Edward, is your mailing address 2201 President Street?
Yes.
All right, you remember getting a certified letter?
Yes.
Okay, did the postal service offer you to sign a green card that's a receipt?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't get it back. Did you sign it?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't
We
get
didn't
it
get it back.
back. We posted the file.
Yes, sir, we did.
And the affidavit of posting was included in
Yes, sir, it is correct.
Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Here, this picture here, it was taken on February 14th. There is some mold and mildew on the corner.
Okay, hold on. Did you take the photographs you're presenting to us?
Yes, sir, I did.
And do they accurately represent the conditions of property day which you took?
Yes, sir.
This is reference, this photograph is 1A in reference to section 3169 mold of mildew.
Yes, sir.
And the arrows point to
It's the trim.
the eave of the house.
Yes, sir.
That's a metal portion of the eave.
That's correct.
Okay.
And this is
What
just.
needs to be done to that, just pressure wash?
Just pressure washed, yes, sir. And this here is just another picture that was taken actually this morning. And it just needs to be pressure washed to get rid of the water mildew.
Is that section of the house visible from President Street?
Cleveland and President, yes, sir.
Where were you when you took that photo?
Right there at the corner of Cleveland and President.
Thank you.
This one here just shows some mold and mildew, the green mold and mildew. This is just an updated one from this morning. The same location. And then,
How high up off the ground is this location you're showing? Is it a second story line?
no, sir, it's first level, maybe 10 foot.
Very good to see. So this is 3169, looking at 3B.
Yes, sir. At 3A, it's the same thing. It shows the corner where it's starting to rotten and peel off.
What is it? Is it the,
It's right there where the arrows are pointing.
is that a load bearing truck or something?
It's right there where the mold and mildew is, but it's like the water runs down on the point of the house, and it's just started to rotten right there.
How extensive is that repair?
Just the wood, just probably one.
So what I'm looking at is a section from the corner outward. Is that all it is?
Yes, sir. It just needs to be replaced right there.
That
I don't
looks
know
like-
what-
that looks like it's-
It may be, but I couldn't really see, so I don't know how far it goes. That area right there, I could see that it is rotten.
With 4A.
Yes, sir. This is another corner, all the way down to the third arrow. All of that is starting to rotten. He has put a piece of plastic up to kind of hold it up, but it needs to be, replaced, repaired, or removed with a new piece of wood.
Is that a gutter?
It's like, yes, sir. It looks like a gutter.
Okay, but it's not a gutter?
It's a piece of metal folded up, and it's nailed against the wood from what I can tell from the roadway.
Okay. This is basically like a soffit or a front to the eave.
Yes, sir, and that piece of wood needs to be replaced.
Does the metal need to be replaced or?
The wood,
or
just the
both?
wood.
The wood
Yes, sir.
and back of it. Okay. Anything else?
Not on that one, no, sir.
Okay.
This is just an updated picture of it this morning from a kind of the same angle, but a little different, where you can see where the gutter is it's starting to fall off of the rotten wood. That just piece of wood needs to be replaced. It's about 10 foot of wood. And this here picture was taken February 14th, 30-32A3, 5A. The debris is coming out towards the roadway, the right of way.
All right, that particular ordinance talks about, and you're citing subsection 12, failure of an owner of land to keep any sidewalk abutting their lawn and all parkways to the curb line, free and clear of all weeds, undergrowth, and rubbish. And this is located where on the farm?
That is going to be on Cleveland Avenue.
This house is on the corner.
Yes, sir. It's on the corner of Cleveland and President.
Is this all man-made material you're looking at?
Yes, sir.
And it's on the sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
And that's a public sidewalk,
Yes, sir.
but it's on his property.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And this is 5B. They have been working on it, so there is a little difference in the pictures. This is the same area. They've been cleaning up, moving stuff off the area, but I just wanted to show an updated picture of the area.
And this one is basically
It was taken this morning, yes, sir.
30-32 A3, objectionable, unsightly, unsanitary matter which shows the condition on improved property. Okay. Next,
Yes, sir. This is 6A. It was taken February 14th.
what's the violation here?
It's the 3032A3. It's, the materials are coming out onto the sidewalk.
So you're pointing to this red, what is that? It's red, orange, with stars in it.
Yes, sir. It's actually like a houseboat. That is the back
Oh.
part of the houseboat. And then there's some materials that are coming out towards the right of way, sidewalk.
It didn't come out on the sidewalk, would it violate the code?
The unlicensed boat part, yes, it would just need to be in the backyard.
Okay, that's gonna be later.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. All right, next, please.
This is the updated picture that was taken this morning. They have cleaned up a lot in the area. You can start seeing some of the sidewalk now, but it's still in the sidewalk area, right of way area.
So I'm looking at, is that a motor vehicle with some kind of truck?
Yes, sir. That's next to the houseboat.
Is that a violation?
Yes, sir. It's the unlicensed vehicle.
It's not licensed?
I couldn't see a tag on it, no, sir.
If it were licensed, can it be there?
If it's licensed, yes, sir.
And then you mentioned the boat next to it.
Yes,
That's
sir.
another, that's coming up, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, show me that.
So this photograph here, was taken February 14th, and it shows, this is facing, this one here is facing President Street. So all this is right on President Street. So right in the right of way and the walkway area is some debris. And the car, there's another picture of the car coming up.
Okay, go back a minute. So the violation is specifically what in that?
Okay, so you have the boat. And then you have the stuff right up front, which they moved that, and then the car is all in the right of way.
All right,
So this one here shows you, sir, where it's the picture that was taken this morning. A lot of that has been removed. So basically what we have is that little bit of debris beside the boat. And he was working on that this morning. This one here was taken February 14th, 2023, is where the debris is actually was still coming out into the walkway.
so again, if it's not coming out to the walkway, it's okay with the city?
If it's, the biggest problem we have right now is that it's coming out into the walkway. You know, so that's our biggest thing, is getting that sidewalk area cleared.
Okay. Yeah.
And this shows you here, sirs, where they have been working on it. So they almost have the sidewalk cleared. And they still have a little bit of carpet that's covering the sidewalk, outdoor carpet. So they are working on that. And that's going to be the one that was taken this morning.
Anything else?
So 9A was taken February 14th, parking and storage of the unlicensed vehicle. We have the boat. The boat doesn't appear to be on a trailer. And I couldn't tell if it was licensed. I couldn't find no whole number.
Could you see any decals?
No,
on
sir, I
either side
couldn't.
of the
I
valve?
tried. No, sir.
Well, I mean, look at your photograph here. Can you see any decals on either side of the
No,
valve
sir.
here? I think that's where they put registration.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Your ordinance says in 94-193. Automotive vehicles or trailers of any type without current license plate shall not be parked or stored other than in completely enclosed buildings and residentially zoned property. This is residential property.
Yes, sir, it's residential.
Commercial vehicles may not be parked. Doesn't talk about those.
Yes, sir, and you know, we are working on an updating our ordinances, so I have to pull that.
Well, doesn't talk about boats per se. Is that boat in the sidewalk area?
It is not in the right of way or the sidewalk area.
Well, it doesn't mention. It just specifically-
You're exactly,
specifically
no,
talks
sir,
about
you're correct. We have
all
addressed
the
that.
vehicles.
You're exactly right. We have addressed that.
All right. That it? Oh,
This is just an updated picture that was taken this morning. This is another one where, it was taken on February 14th. It shows the, truck and then the other boat in the yard. This was just another version that was taken this morning of the same area.
is that on the sidewalk?
Yes, sir, it's still backed up.
Can they back those up any farther, and get them off the sidewalk?
Not at this time, the way the property is, no, sir. They would have to clean up and probably move I think there's a shed right there. That would have to be moved to have that pushed forward.
So the point being, compliance would require you have to remove the boats from that location
Yes, sir.
because of on the sidewalk, not because of unlicensed, but because of on the sidewalk.
Yes, sir. This one was taken February 14th, 2023. It just shows the items that are in they're basically flower pots and stuff, but they're on the sidewalk in the right of way area. And this is the updated version that I took this morning. They are currently working on it, and this is what it looks like now. So they made progress, just not enough for me to close that one. That's
All right. So, is that it?
This is 12A. It was taken on February 14th. This shows again the sidewalk and the debris in the sidewalk and the curb. That's the updated picture this morning. This shows the car, which is basically right there on the sidewalk area. Updated picture this morning.
So compliance, as I understand it, you mentioned debris on the roof of that house.
Right there, if you can see.
Looking at picture 14.
Yes, sir, 14A was taken on February 14th. There's some stuff on the house. It looks like maybe I couldn't tell, it may be a tarp, but it's all kind of bundled up. I couldn't really see the whole roof because of that area. There's some piping. But that's what I was discussing when it talked about the debris on the house.
So we're talking, these are miscellaneous, non-functional elements of the building. front?
Yes, sir. There were more pictures, but those were all removed. This is what's left.
So, as I understand it, the city's looking for the roofed area to be cleared of the non-functional elements that you're showing us in the photo.
Correct.
The areas of mold and mildew, which are fairly small in number, need to be pressure washed.
Pressure wash, yes, sir.
There's some rotten and weakened wood on the eaves of the house that needs to be replaced
Yes, sir.
and painted.
Yeah, it would need to be painted.
Bigger issue seems to be all of the material that's blocking the sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
And that's got to get off the side. How far back from the sidewalk do they need to go?
It's about 4 foot to the fence area, that the right of way, so I think it's right at
This,
there. It's a fence, yes.
so all this, these vehicles, boats and everything else are showing me that between the fence and the right of way.
Some of the boats, the fence is only about 30 foot of fence, privacy fence, and then you have an open area that has a boat and a truck. And then you have the front of the yard, which they've almost completely got that right of way cleared.
But they need to get these boats and trailers off the
Off the,
sidewalk.
yes, sir.
The motor vehicles need to go anyway,
Yes, sir.
but that is prohibited under 94-193, but they don't have license. How many of them don't have license? Let's talk about them.
There's only one left.
All right. Edward, you've been working on this problem.
Yes, Your Majesty. The because we are.
Move over this.
It's a must, I mean, we must work together, to make it happen. It's like when there is a problem, there shall be a solution, but that's why I'm very happy that you guys invite me.
Well, they've been working with you because they did not bring this to our attention.
The thing, there is another problem. See, like this woman, I mean, if it was not for the good magistrate, she could not be here, she would have been dead. I was explaining to her this morning, sometimes, we all make mistakes, it's like, for example, some people do speak English, do understand English, but not everybody does it. This is what I'm saying. And then it's great that communication, like you bring me today, it's worth like more than $1 million you would give me. It's the best thing, communication. This is what I mean. So she went to the room to cut the line of the electricity because the way the city wrote the thing and she read it and she couldn't understand. And I said, no, this is not just a cable of whatever. Television. So I yelled at her, please don't touch. She was gonna die. You know what I'm saying? But it's great that you guys, it's before taking any action, it's really good if you would contact even the property, personally, to.
Well, you're the owner, right?
Yes, I'm the owner.
Okay, so you're here, you understand us,
Yes,
you
yeah,
communicate with her,
yeah.
okay. Did you tell her to go up on the roof and do that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, who
She
told
just
her that?
went because when she read the paper, but she couldn't understand it.
She made that decision on her own.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
Sure, I
right.
understand. Here's what's happening. Apparently, and I'm looking at the facts of this. And right now, yes, those eaves need to be replaced. There needs to be some pressure washing done. And that motor vehicle needs to be licensed. It's got to get off the sidewalk.
It's a three from opposite. If you clean million of pressure wash, there is a neighbor in Cleveland. Her tree four branches over my property. Every time it's a mowing.
Well, and I understand that, but that's not the issue before us today. The only thing before us today are
Cut
the
the
issues
tree.
the city has brought concerning the condition of the house and the location of property on these public sidewalks. You've got to clear the sidewalk.
It is happening. I've
And
been
they
working.
said that they said you were working with it.
Basically, I'm gonna make you happy, Because
Well,
that's the
making me
way-
happy isn't the problem. You make the city happy.
Yeah,
And they'll stop,
it's my
they'll stop
city.
bringing these cases. I'm just making a determination whether they have a case or not.
It's my city, And we have the city, we have the state, which is us, you, me, and everybody here. And then we have the United States, So, that's it.
All right. The city has alleged, again, that roof needs to be cleared of that, the matter that's on the roof.
Don't worry.
Somebody's have to climb up on the roof, or you have to hire somebody to climb up on the roof. And let me tell you something. Owning property has obligations that go with it. And city codes have been found to be constitutional. They can be enforced, especially when it comes to matters of code enforcement. They can be enforced. And it's an obligation of the owner to satisfy those codes. The only thing I do here today is see whether there's a violation and to establish a time frame for curing it, and hopefully a fine that you will not have to pay because you cure the situation. So where the city's looking at is the owner has an obligation to get this debris off the roof of the house, get the mold and mildew off it's a very small number of areas where it's there, a pressure washer can cure them. There's going to be some repair of rock, weakened wood, which I do not think is part of the permit
No, sir.
because it's a small area. And then, any unlicensed vehicles on the property need to have a license tag, that'd be the cars. But everything needs to come off that sidewalk. That sidewalk needs to be cleared. That's basically the case. How long do you think it'll take you to do that?
Okay, yes, if Your Honor, let me tell you, explain you one thing. When there is a will, there will be a way. And there is a will, there is a way. So I'm starting with everything.
So far, so good.
Okay, so the thing is, for sure, like the ordinance, the US Constitution, you know, allow the city to regulate some parts, like it's a regulation, you know, but there is, for sure, I know all of you guys know, there is a big difference between a regulation, like a traffic light or whatever, you know, and the law. That's why, you know, the US Constitution, it says, you know, even Congress shall not be any law that infringe or abridge the US Constitution. You may regulate it, but that's why, you know, I'm happy to work with this city. It's a give a little, take a little. We gotta make it together, make it happen. If there is problem, we will work it out. We will resolve it. You know, it's like
Let me leave you with this.
Yes, sir.
I went to law school a little late in life. I was 34 before I even started, but I've still been at this for 37 years and local municipal government law. And I will tell you, as I've said before, local ordinances are deemed to be constitutional and valid unless some judge decides they're not. But right now, I can't make a decision to say it's not valid or unconstitutional. It's valid and constitutional for the purposes of its hearing. You want to have somebody challenge that, that's for another place, but not here. The only thing I'm looking at today is whether there's a violation of the city's code. Right now, I see there is. My question to you was, how long would it take you to solve these problems?
Okay, again.
And have you talked with the city about that?
We haven't talked about it yet, but the thing is, I know like the city has the right to come up with some regulation and stuff like that, constitutional, not unconstitutional. That's why, you know, when I had that lawsuit in California, but that's what some municipalities, they violate the constitution. That's why I didn't take them to the municipal court. I take them to the Supreme Court, federal court. So they're violating my rights. But some of, I'm not saying anything, all of them.
What does that have to do with this case? And
What?
how are your rights being violated in this case?
Well, they are not. I'm not gonna mention it, you know, but I don't, because the reason why I'm very happy to come here, I don't wanna fight. That's why when I went to study, I don't get a license to become I don't wanna fight. You know?
Well, the city
Yes,
has requested that they will give you, amazingly enough, 120 days to fix this problem. Can you fix it by Wednesday, November 15th?
could be bothered in a week or two. The thing is, you know, like I said, you know, it will be like the work has to be done and it's gonna be done.
If it's that easy to do, why are we spending all this time doing this?
Okay, my brother here, I worked with them before. When I said something before, we had a little confrontation, but we understood each other, you know. Did I make it happen? I kept my words, you see. And her also, I talked to her. Trust me, they're gonna be, but I'm gonna make sure you guys, you know, when everything is finished and done, you know, you make sure you get my check of $2 million ready. You're gonna pay me.
Can you get this done? Can you fix these issues within the next 60 days?
Like I said, I don't want to give a date. The reason why, because this is what's happening. You know, there is a time with every, like for example, if I say, Your Honor, you must take your car right now, get on it and drive to New York City, and you must do it in 2 hours.
Yes or no? Can you fix these problems in the next 60 days?
I cannot say 1 day, 2 days, 2 years, like this, but it's gonna
Let
happen.
me tell you how this works.
Yes,
The city doesn't come to bed unless they're trying to motivate somebody to get the job done.
yeah.
Now, the city is indicating you're doing a job and trying to bring this into compliance. But they want to motivate you. They want to make sure it gets finished. Okay, so that's why we're here. And the way they do that, and the way the law works, is that they can fine you. Basically, they fine the property. And right now they're asking for $125 fine, which is $25 per violation. a day if you don't get this done. So the question is, on that understanding, how long do you think it will take you to get this done?
No. That's why I don't like the verb thinking. I believe. I like to use the word believe. I believe it will get done, for sure.
Well, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna enter an order, finding violations. And I'm gonna set a time when it needs to be done, but the day after that, the fines start. Giving you a chance to get me some input. And the way you think you can do it.
He put his vote here. And the other vote here, and this done.
Okay, there is another thing.
Okay, I just need an answer to the question, and what you think. If you don't, if you can't give me an answer, I'm gonna adopt the city's 120
We
days.
say, how long I need. What about if I would say 3 years?
No, man, that's not gonna fly.
Okay, you said before, like November.
If that's your answer, then I'm gonna go with the city. And my experience has been, based on what I've heard and the amount of work that needs to be done here, 120 days is more than sufficient.
Okay, for example, what about all the cold weather?
Okay, you're negotiating with somebody else. I'm not the one you negotiate with at this point. I'm trying to give you the benefit of opportunity to tell me what you can do, but you're not familiar with this problem.
But the thing is, I don't like to lie. I don't
I
like
understand
to.
that. I
And
appreciate that.
sometimes somebody says, you know what accident it means? Sometimes you take your car, you're going downtown and you get into an accident and then you are not able to make it to where you are going. That's what happened, you know? That's
Thank
what,
you
when
for
you
your
say
input.
yes,
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna enter an order finding violation of section 30-169, building plans and sites of the streets of public areas to mandate debris in the roof of the house. Not part of the roof. That needs to be removed. A violation of section 30-169, building fronts and sides of the streets of public areas due to a small amount of mold and mildew, just like it's about 10 feet above the street, which is a pressure washer you can rent from Home Depot will probably solve.
Who is chlorine, I chlorine, to see what is that.
Section 169, building fronts and sides of the streets of public areas due to some rotten leaf and wood. I don't know that you can fix that. You may have to require a contractor to assist you with that, but that's up to you. That does not require a permit according to the state. Section 30-32A, subsection 12, prohibited conditions and public nuisances. This has to do with all the debris and clutter on the sidewalk. That needs to be removed. It needs to be removed how far away from the house side of the sidewalk?
It's right at 4 foot.
4 feet on your side of the sidewalk. So that needs to be taken off the sidewalk. That is a public nuisance, safety risk. And you're affecting other people in the city, basically forcing them to walk in the street. And then section 1, violation of section 94-193, parking or storage of unlicensed vehicles in residential zones. That relates to the automobile on the property that does not have a license. You need to get that car off the sidewalk. But if you park in another place on the property where it's outside and it's seen, it needs to have a license.
okay.
You're gonna have until the end of the day on November 15th, 2023, to bring these items into compliance. If it's not done by then, on Thursday, November 16th, 2023, fine $25 a day for any violation that remains unsatisfied will be getting approved. So you got 5 violations of $25.
Yes, we didn't discuss about the license. Okay, on a vehicle, like, I was driving in Florida for 5 years without a driver license.
Do you know how to get a license tag for this?
Yeah, I have a license tag.
Why
One of
don't
my
you- why don't
vehicles,
you do it? Is it valid?
no, the thing, I brought it to the DMV. They have it, but I'm not driving it. I just keep it in all my.
Why don't you take the license you have for the car and put it on the car?
Well, it's not belong to that truck exactly. like-
Well, then you don't have a license for this
No,
car.
I have a license plate, but I
All you
don't have
need to
it.
do to satisfy this order is to get the current license tag and registration sticker for this car and put it on the car. And get the car off the sidewalk and park it on the property somewhere else. Okay?
Okay.
That's all you have to do.
Okay, yeah, yes, Your Honor. Check this out. At the same time, there is not a law that says under the US Constitution, the license with the DMV, it's a corporate. It's not, it's a corporate, the institution.
And I appreciate what you're telling me, but that doesn't change the fact. It's pretty easy to get a license for this vehicle. Put it on the vehicle, get the vehicle off the side.
So what about if it's my right? I don't have to give my right away. You see what I'm saying?
What,
I
all I'm telling
can
you-
work with this, we can make each other
You
happy.
do need to work with this load to make sure you're in compliance, because you don't want to come up here in November and not have compliance, because if you're not in compliance, if she approves that you're in compliance, the fines.
You see, I know what's like among all those pictures and everything, I know what is legal or not legal. See, so I know, so that's why I start, I'm
Yeah.
working on it, and I told you,
And you know, the great thing is today,
yeah.
now you know what the city's going to require you to do and when you need to do it.
I'm not an outlaw person.
Okay, let me tell you what's happening. You're gonna get a certified letter in the mail with the order in it, okay? Thank you very much for coming.
Please,
Okay.
please, to ask you. 7 years, every day, bloom, 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 with leaves from the neighbors, when you cut the tree.
If you would like to file a complaint against the neighbors, you are entitled to do so.
She say the city, it belong to the
Hey,
city.
man, that's not what's before us today.
Which
Yeah.
city, where I'm going?
I understand what you're saying. That is not
Cut
what's
the
before us.
tree.
Thank you for coming today.
I'm tired.
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
This hearing is concluded.
Right,
Thank you very much.
be blessed.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
All right. It appears the next case is 2023-35, property located at 322 Madison Street. I have the owners of record as Herbert S. Delancey and Tracy Ledford as tenants in common. They present today. Please come forward. Your time and your patience today. It has been an unusual day. Could you raise your right hand for me and give me, tell me your names for the record?
Tracy Ledford.
And you are, sir, Herbert Delancey, and you are the owners of the property, is that correct?
That's
Correct. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Right. This is,
Mine.
bless you, you're up again.
Yes, sir. This is case number 2023-35. 322 Madison Street. It was first observed March 16th, 2023. It was set for notice of hearing July 5th, 2023. The green card, we did not get the green card back. The complex posting was July 6th, 2023, and I site posted it July 10th, 2023.
Just for the record, the green card did not come back.
No, sir. I do have a current address and telephone number for the homeowners.
And you have a current mailing address?
Yes, sir, I do.
Was the 322 Madison Street, Palatka, Florida, was the official address?
It was the official property appraiser. Yes, sir.
And you filed your notice of posting?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Yes, sir. We have this area right here was taken on.
Back up, this established what ordinances we're looking at first.
Yes, sir.
This is ordinance 30-169, building fronts and sides of streets and public areas, mold and mildew on those streets that are visible from the public street.
Yes, sir.
And 30-169, same section was rotten and weakened wood, also visible from the public street.
Yes, sir.
Which public streets is, was it on which are visible?
This one right here is off of Madison Street.
This is picture 1A.
Yes, sir.
Did you
Facing.
take all the photographs you want to put?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did they actually represent the property being?
Yes, sir. This one was taken on June 22nd, and it just shows, where some of the wood is starting to rotten and where it was weak and it fell off. Some of the wooding fell off.
So is that one section of siding?
It's one section, it's
And then a
one,
missing piece?
yes, sir,
The
the
rotten
missing
piece and a
pieces.
missing piece?
Yes, sir.
The only thing needs to be done in 1A is a replacement of those two sections.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is 2A. It shows. This is just rotten and weakened wood where it's starting to rot inside.
So it's just the one.
It's that one
slab?
panel, the only panel that I could see that was actually rotten. The other one's just missing paint.
Okay.
This is going to be where the front porch is rotten and weakened wood. And it's missing wood.
Right, this is the front porch of the house,
Yes, sir. facing
visible
back.
from Madison Street. And what, and the stairs are concrete, correct?
They're concrete, yes, sir.
And so what needs to be repaired in that?
The front porch pretty much, 80% of the front porch is rotten and weakened.
So looking at the support, I guess it's got support columns for the portion on the left of the concrete stair. Is that what that is?
Yes, sir. It's about 6 inches of wood.
And then the surface of the porch is rotten.
Yes, sir.
Now that column is not included,
No, sir. The concrete column is
so it's the porch surface and support columns.
correct. This is picture of mold and mildew. 4A was taken on June 22nd, just a pressure wash to get the mold and mildew off.
Okay. Is that a top of the first floor there?
Yes, sir. It's
Is
top-
over the porch,
Yes, sir.
visible from Madison Street?
This one is visible from North 4th Street.
There's a corner property.
Yes, sir. This is facing North 4th Street. It just shows the mold and mildew, which just needs to be pressure washed, facing North 4th Street. This just shows the main area, but it's the whole side of that house.
So it just needs to be pressure washed. About 7 slats up from the windows, a little bit higher, how high?
That shows the main part, sir, where the arrows are, but it's pretty much that whole side that faces North 4th Street needs to be pressure
I
washed.
just want a nice precise reading on what they
Yes, sir.
need to do.
It's all the way up to the top floor.
And that's mildew, right?
Yes, sir.
Next.
And this just shows the privacy, that it's a concrete fence, privacy fence that faces North 4th Street. And it's just got like a mold and mildew that has run down from the trees. It just needs to be pressure washed. This is going to be our 1B. These were all taken on July 18th this morning. I just wanted to get
This is
it.
what you showed the previous.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
That's fine.
But it just shows the same area where it's missing one piece of wood and then where the one piece needs to be replaced from being rotten. It's the same picture that was taken this morning of the one panel that just needs to be replaced at the bottom. And this is just an updated of the porch that was taken this morning, a little bit up closer version.
But go back to that porch. Was that porch occurred when we parked them?
It is in the historic section, and I believe where the porch, yes, sir, it's going to require a permit.
That from the building department or historic?
Historic.
Okay.
And this is just a picture that was taken this morning. You can see where it's gotten a little darker on the mold and mildew. It just needs to be pressure washed.
Yeah.
The same, yeah, same updated version. Mold and mildew just needs to be pressure washed. And this one was taken this morning of the concrete wall. This needs to be pressure washed.
So the city's position is that we have, it's both the building on the privacy fence, on the identified sections of the house.
Yes, sir.
It looks like there were 3 panels, forces of siding that need to be replaced at least partially.
Yes, sir.
And then you have this porch issue, that is the most significant one, that's going to need replacement of wall or majority of the porch.
Yes, sir.
And architectural review. And how many days are you asking for?
On this one, we gave them 90 days. I've already discussed with the homeowner, about the pressure washing, but 90 days. Get everything done, or permits required, and then from the date of the permit that it expires. And all the other violations were already taken off that they fixed.
So you've had good conversations with the owner?
I actually met him yesterday. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I hope you make your job a whole lot easier.
And you've been here now for 2 hours, waiting your chance to talk about this,
Well,
and you got the gist of this, so tell me about it.
We purchased this house with this beginning. We did not cause or let this run down this way. And we've been steadily fixing it up. Like, we had to redo the heat and air, and if you'd like to see a picture from the front, it's not the worst eyesore on that street. But we've been consistently working towards getting it done. And it helps me if I stick to the notes, because it kind of all ties back together. Our plan is to repaint the entire house. It's been the plan, but going through COVID, we came down here, we were getting estimates, we couldn't get anyone to work. We also are operating out of North Carolina. So there's been we didn't get the green cards. I changed and put I've not, today, 2 hours before I walked in here was the first time I knew any of this.
Right. And just so you know, they have, as your mailing address, 322 Madison Street. That's the proper appraiser, the tax collector, who send you your tax bill.
No, the tax collector definitely 100% sure has my address at 9221 Macko. Now, how it got lost, I do not
Well,
know.
Ms. Love, when did you research the address? I'm just trying to let you know how this works.
I don't think it's the city or you. I'll do anything I can. to
This
be in
particular
compliance.
address, the 322 Madison is still updated as property appraiser. I checked it again, showing this is their mailing address. I was able to, one of the neighbors said they thought they lived at a different address, so I researched their name and I did find a different address, and I did send the letter to that address, but it still wasn't what he gave me.
Just so you know, that's actually a state law, if I noticed. And that's the two places there, the city's supposed to work. It's the property appraiser and tax collector's official role to see what your address is. That's what they did. That's what they did.
I changed and gave them, and this has been for 5 or 6 years. They didn't have my Waxhaw address,
Well, they did.
and I lived there.
They should, but they don't. Okay, that. But if you got notice in your.
Okay, yeah. Even when he found this one on the door, fortunately, he ran into it yesterday, because I don't know whether you're putting this on the door or if he found it on the door, but either way, this was kind of the first thing I heard.
One moment, please.
I would just like to confirm their mailing address for future notices, for this. What's a proper mailing address for you, please?
9221 Mac Elroy, MC, capital ELROY Road, Waxhaw, North Carolina, 28173.
28173. Thank you very much.
Where the city is, and you've been through some of this already today, watching some of the hearings. But after our hearing, this is basically about mold and mildew, 3 slats that probably don't need to be done, whether or not you paint it. And then the porch, which has got to be repaired, whether or not you paint it.
The siding is not yet located, a local source for that siding. It's wood, German flat siding. Still looking to find a source. Got to find someone who tell me where it is.
What, yeah, is that something architecture review looks at as the siding itself?
Well, just because if I stayed in my notes, I'll cover the things that will need to be addressed.
And the thing about it, the reason I asked the question, and you raised a pertinent question, they may have specific guidelines you would need to follow, and they're probably the ones that look like what it was.
Yeah, and I've done historic property restoration for in excess of 30 years. It's all I've ever done. Very qualified, not in Florida. It's all been in North Carolina. So transition into some of the things, the tax laws, they're different, but nothing I'm fighting. I just need to understand it. And I was hoping to meet people from the historic perspective, because we own 2 houses. Side by side there. And so, the mold, I think, he went and bought vinegar today to spray it, and just so, make it a peaceful transition and to get it painted. And that's getting it painted is within the realm of probably 120 days. We were going to ask for like March or so,
Well,
simply because of the
painting-
hot.
Painting isn't what's in front of us. To me, what I'm hearing is that you have work that's going to need to be done whether you paint it or not. And so this is just making it consistent and have consistent appearance, getting the porch which is a problem. That can be really good.
And the paint where it was flipped down and falling kind of there, he actually chipped into it to see what was in. And I would have been glad if he had his telescope lens, because we're actually trying to match the paint. If you go on there and look on those 3 levels, we're trying to get the exact paint exactly like that, because I'm very into keeping it historic and the right colors and all that. And then we couldn't get anyone motivated. We couldn't get anyone to paint. We had people come out and give us estimates and not show up. We have people work on the roof.
Well, one of the things the city, and I heard them say, is they want to give you 90 days to try to bring it to the compliance. Again, the only thing they're looking at, and the architectural review, historic review takes some time. And that's going to take a lot of the 90 days. But right, I think they want that 40 days. I don't know how specific any particular wood, choice of material or choice of design of material would affect that porch. It looks pretty basic, but that's not for me to decide. But basically, the only thing the city's looking at are those 3 pieces of siding, the pressure washing, and that porch.
Can I show you the picture from
Sure.
front of the house? It's a very small porch, and that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very small porch. It's more like you can set one rocking chair and it's in front of the doors. It's not some big wraparound. And we're gonna, our paint, it's not structurally super unsafe right now. That is definitely on the to-do list to make it look nice.
Well, the city wants to give you until October 16th to get the siding replaced, get the pressure washing done, and at least get the process going with architectural review for the permit for that pool. I don't know that it's up to them. I can't tell you what they'll do. Usually, if you're making progress, all they want is progress made. They don't really necessarily want to see, they want you to get a fine at all.
And again, I think if we'd had the communication, we wouldn't even have had an issue, but just so.
One of the great things about this process, we're going to communicate to them.
Well, this is a great big house. And you want.
All right. Now, I really can't, I look at it,
But the porch is not a big deal. It's a small part. We can definitely accomplish that.
and I've got that.
I just put your picture, we're sitting there and let me go into rock and what.
Again, that makes your response easier to deal with. Is there any reason you believe you can't get the pressure washing, replacement of the siding, and get this process with historical architectural review started within 90 days? Not finish the siding and the pressure washing. They'd like to see you get permit for this done at least within 90 days. So that permit's got a license. And they get to work with it. They just want to see you make like problems. Okay, and they don't want to find you. They really don't. They really don't.
With us, during the hurricane, we had a tree come down on the back side of the house that was on the house from the neighbor's yard. And we came to address some of these issues then, but we had to structurally build up the tree, even be able to take it down to keep it from falling in on the roof, the air conditioning. Fortunately, it didn't pierce the house, or it would have been a nightmare. So we kind of had to draw back a little bit and take care of that problem before the porch and the things. But I really don't think we have a real issue with communicating.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find a violation 30-169, building funds inside of the streets of public areas, the local building issue. And 3169, building funds inside, but public streets of public areas is a lot of wood on the 3 slabs of siding and the porch. And the city has recommended, and I will agree to allow until the end of business on October 16th, 2023, to get the siding, pressure washing done, and get the application process on its way through architectural review, historic architectural review for the porch. Just don't not follow through with that. And you have Ms. Rose, give you contact information.
I put you right in my contact with my person. to-
Okay, that
That's
is
what
about
we
my
need to
thing.
check with Lisa in the back. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We'll send you an order to the director goes. Okay. All right.
Mr.
Next
Brown?
page is going-
Since he stepped out, can we go ahead and do 313 Dodge Street? Because
Okay.
Mr. Green was next, but
He's speaking with the property owner of that case.
All right, let's go to 313 Dodge Street. Owner record, Charlene E. House, Hossein, is that correct?
Same house.
Hossein House. I just reading what they put down here, trying to sort all that out. And this is case number 2023-51. The allegations regard ordinance 30-32A prohibited conditions and public nuisances, debris, and fallen large tree. And 30-169 building front and side of public streets or areas of mold and building. So identify yourself for the record, please. Who are you going to testify?
Charlene Hossein House.
You'll be the only one testifying.
And
David's building.
Are you ready to write in for me? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Very well. And Ms. Bozeman, is your case? Yes.
Yes, sir, in my case. Case number 2023-051. The address is 313 Dodge Street, Michael, Florida. This complaint was first observed on March 10th, 2023. It was set for notice of hearing, was sent on July 5th, 2023. We did not receive the green card back. I got the letter that came back unsigned and unserved. The complex posting was done July 6th, 2023, and site posting was done July 10th, 2023.
So for the record, the notice requirement, the official address of record of the property created and tax collector is 313 Dodge Street, Palatka, 32177. Not your name.
Oh,
You just need to get the.
It came back to us.
What did the postal service say when it came back?
It just had a sticker on it that said unserved, undeliverable, not at home.
Do you have a mailbox?
It's a.
Yeah, they have a
mailbox.
lockbox,
It's a
no
lockbox.
boxes.
Nothing came in the box.
Right. Just let you know, the postal service tried, and they posted the property, but,
They didn't even leave a little sticker on the door.
Nothing.
I don't know about the postal service, but they did post the property, you're here, and I appreciate that you're being here. And you got the notice,
I got
Oh.
no, we go.
okay,
we got,
they posted your property,
I got a certified thing in the mail on the 7th, I think. It was picked up on the 10th. I called Christie on the 10th. At that time, my camera's picture of putting the red.
but that mail, that,
No.
Well,
With
there's
that,
a
I
certified
told-
letter noticing, telling us about this got delivered, but the other one didn't.
but you're here. Happy you're here. Thank you for coming. And thank you for waiting, it's been a long day. We have these two violations that have been alleged. We have respondents here. We have the correct address for the respondents.
Yes, sir. This is facing Dodge Street. This is the front of the house. It's one spot. It's got about,
And this is 1A.
yes, sir. This is one I taken on February 23rd. There's just some mold and mildew right there that just needs to be pressure washed. It goes up 1, 2, 3, 4 panels all the way to the right of the beam of the house. It just needs to be pressure washed.
And for the record, did you take all the photographs you're showing us?
Yes,
today?
sir, I did.
And do they accurately represent the condition of the property that you took?
Yes, sir.
So that's a violation of 30-169 as alleged. Okay,
Yes, sir. And this is gonna be 2A, 30-169 was taken on the same day, February 23rd. It just shows some mold and mildew on you can see it from Dodge Street. It's the front, and then the first part of the right part of the house, it just needs to be pressure washed. And this is the large non-living tree debris, 3A. This was taken on the same day of February, and it's visible from Dodge Street.
so what does the city want done there? Just have all that debris removed?
Yes, sir. This is an update that was taken July 17th, the photo of the mold and mildew on those panels. This one was taken on July 17th of the same areas as the first 2A, which needs to be pressure washed. And then an updated picture of the tree.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Well, they want you to pressure wash parts of your house that you're in.
We can spray vinegar, but you can't really pressure wash that siding because it's got asbestos in it.
What's the city's position on that? Is that a health issue?
Yes, but like I said, he can, once he give it a try, and he get back with it, we can see what it looks
Well, let me
like.
ask the question. He said you can't pressure wash it because it's
No,
asbestos. What
no.
about asbestos? They said you can't pressure wash it.
It's
What's the
toxic.
result of that?
You cannot pressure wash it. You cannot remove it, you cannot pressure wash it. When I bought the house in 2013, they told me there was no way I could remove it. If I do have to remove asbestos siding, I have to hire a
Right.
contractor, do all that stuff. That takes a lot of time. There will be certain companies that would actually do the asbestos removal. But right now I cannot, they told me do not
So-
pressure wash.
So
So
you're,
are you saying it's illegal to pressure wash it?
It's not advised, it's toxic to the environment.
so you're saying asbestos has came outside of the interior of the.
The
side.
asbestos
Yeah,
side,
yes, ma'am.
is put on. in
All they
the
recommend painting over. So that's all we can do is just spray it with vinegar, hope that kills it, then put some type of protective coating, then paint. But can't pressure.
Is that being accepted?
That'd be something.
And we were actually planning on having the house painted. We just got an estimate to have a new roof. They're gonna do the whole front porch over. And we're gonna wait till after all that to paint. So that's
So you can do that within 90 days?
what
No,
the
sir.
whole new
Well,
roof, the new porch,
No, the only thing before us today
right?
are those, show them the photographs again, show them the same thing.
Sure.
Get back to the tree. This section, which is in front of the house,
It's right there on the front, yes, sir.
that you've got basically 4 little horses of siding at that angle, and you go to the next one. You've got about 4 here. Is that all there is of those 4?
That's it.
There's a little bit more. It goes all the way up. It's, I think 8 panels on the front.
That's all they're asking you to do.
Yeah, I'll do, we'll do the best to, we'll spray down the
I
vinegar and
understand the asbestos.
I don't like those either, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take care of that.
So you're gonna basically wash with vinegar and then.
yeah, we'll throw some paint on. I
Okay,
mean, we won't be painting the whole house right
that's
now,
not what they're asking.
But-
They're not asking.
but I'll cover, well, yeah, we'll definitely get the mulch covered.
Tell me about the tree.
As far as the tree, well, number one,
yeah.
we're planning on incorporating a lot of that into the landscaping in the backyard. Now, I wasn't aware that the city ordinance could tell you how you can landscape your own backyard. That
That's
picture.
part of your landscaping plan?
It's gonna be, yeah, because I mean, actually, and here's it, this is where we've actually started having the side of this cleaned up. That picture makes it look a whole lot worse than what it really is.
That's what it looks like in the street.
Well,
No, you
not
have to
quite
actually
that bad.
go into the neighbor's property and kind of like, take that. But I have a-
Because
This is a picture of what it looks
No,
like.
that's
No,
right.
that's
Well,
the neighbor's.
okay, here's the way it works.
This is,
One person speaks at a time. So
that's
we
what
have-
it looks like in the street. That is a tree in the backyard, way out there.
See, the angle that they took here,
Is there any question the trees on your part?
no, it's 100% in the backyard.
Mr. Brown,
They put in there that it was a
Ms.
hazard.
Bell.
Mr. Brown, this is Valeria Thomas again.
Yes,
If you
ma'am?
could please direct them that only one speak at a time, and they also, could they show the photos or anything to the city also?
I got lots, their photo they presented as respondents
Thank
one,
you.
record, that's what I have in front of me now.
You need one where we had it, started having it
Well,
cleared.
and here's what's wrong, whatever you may eventually do with it,
Right.
right now it's a violation.
Okay, so we have been cleaning that up. The tree fell over in 2000. We started cleaning it up.
And
I
I
had
got
people come in
pictures
and.
of everything we've been
inside,
doing.
Show just all
Well-
the steps we've taken.
So, I mean, it's.
Well, can you finish all this landscaping in 90 days?
And another thing, I had the foundation redone.
Yeah.
Last year. They came in and made the house secure because after the tree fell, it was so close to the back of the house that I was afraid that it would mess up the foundation. So I had people come out, the foundations actually came in. They did steel all the way under the house. And it was their recommendation that that part, which was the root part, that it was not a dead tree. Lightning actually struck that and brought it down. As it came down, it brought down the other one. It was 2 of them in the yard. It brought the whole thing down. I have it on my cameras, picked up footage of it falling, actually falling.
When they came out, they redid the foundation, they told me, because of the way the land is settling and the roots brought up some of the dirt, that should not be removed right now until it gives the soil a few more years to settle.
How long has this tree been down?
The middle of 2020. In 2021, I had the foundation redone. I did a lot of cleanup. This is what it looked like when it came down. It was covered in, you can imagine the size of a oak tree.
And I mean,
It was huge. So we've been working at this, round the clock every time,
and
I have time to do it.
The
Our
code-
foundation.
The code provision is that the city starts
Mhm.
30-32 and
Yeah.
purpose intent of this section is to prohibit and prevent the following conditions. Accumulation of trash, junk, and debris, living and non-living plant material. Hazard trees and stagnant water. Existence of all other objectionable, unsightly, or unsanitary matter, materials, and conditions and improved property. Excessive and extended growth of grass, weeds, growth, branches, or other overgrowth. That doesn't apply. But you have a fallen tree on your property. And it's fine for me if you say, well, I'll incorporate it into some landscaping. The tree's been sitting there for 3 years like that.
I cannot remove the tree because if I do remove that part, the ground is going to sink in. My foundation is going to become level.
that big stump sits about 3.5 feet off the back porch. When the trees came down, it actually shifted the back master bedroom. When the foundation company came in and they crawled under there, they dug the holes, they poured the concrete, they put the rebar in there. When they put the steel beams in there, they told us, they said, we'll be out here once a year for the next 5 years to inspect this. We'll let you know when it finished settling. I would not touch that because if you start pulling that up,
Do
they
you
should.
have a copy of that report for the city? And you discussed that with the city at this point.
I didn't have a chance to discuss
Yeah, I mean,
that.
we
with
didn't
the
even
city.
know
We
about
didn't even
this
know
until
about
days
it
ago.
until, like
So,
11 weeks ago.
And then, if we were home every night, yeah, we could whittle away more of that, but
Well, I have to tell you, what you're telling me is this, is that you're exempt from the enforcement of the city code because you have a report from an expert that says you cannot remove this tree because it affects the foundation of your house.
And-
You need to bring that person here and tell the city about that or talk to them about that. Because right now, it's a violation of the code. If there's some kind of a measure, then that's something that needs to be brought here. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna continue this until next month. We're gonna put this on the agenda. They're going to renotice you, which is going to us. And we're gonna talk about this. And what I suggest you do, at a minimum, you bring me the report. Before you bring it to me, you talk to the city about the effectiveness of that report and whether it actually is something that needs to be looked at. The city's got engineers, I'll be glad to look at it and see what the situation. But that's not something I can get into. And now you're talking about expert witnesses and whether or not, removing this tree is gonna affect the foundation. As a city, I'll tell you this, and again, I wait for the report to make any final decision. If it comes back that people can't start removing fallen trees because it affects the foundation, the city's done in terms of being able to enforce its code. And you may have to fix your foundation.
no, we already did.
We already
We
did.
had to.
We
Well,
already
then what's the
done.
issue?
The steel beams all the way from the concrete and the sand underneath the house, they're waiting for that to settle all the way down. They said, if you move
What
the
did they
ground,
say? Can you recall what they say the amount of time required for that settlement to occur?
they didn't say, they just
So
said they
you
would.
tell me there's no end to this.
Well, they said they would let us know. I mean, that's all I can tell you.
You need to-
And then the city guys, they came out and inspected it, they looked at it, and I mean, it was just,
Now, last night I was reading, I went on the website and I read the code enforcement about trees or debris, when trees are down on your property. And this tree, I would like to know how is making a hazard. How is it a violation? Hazard.
It's on the property.
It's on the property.
It's a
You can't
fallen
have-
tree.
Okay, so
And
you
it's
can't
not
have
just-
any timber or anything like that on your property? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, the code provides that if you have this fallen, basically, you have material, not living or non-living material on the property. And fallen tree being one of them, it needs to go.
So,
Unless you've got some really good reason why you cannot remove this tree. But what you're saying is, people don't have to clean up their yard anymore.
No, I do clean up my yard, but this is not technically a
That-
tree, it's
that
just a trunk.
Yeah,
It's
that
like the
picture
length
is
of
not
the-
reflective of
Algae material. Because
But that is not
So
clear.
living or non-living, so if they didn't like the
It
tree.
was living and now it's not living. You want to parse it, that's fine, but
No, I
I'm
need
giving
to
you,
understand it myself.
I'm
just
giving
want to
you,
know.
I'm giving you a moment. Come back here. You get a new notice, bring in the experts. Tell them, and do it before you bring it. You need to discuss with the city, maybe you can avoid bringing this thing back here at all. But you need to bring in some experts and say, you know what, these experts say, if we take this tree out of our yard, it's going to affect our foundation. You need to bring that in.
Okay. Now, what about incorporating something like that into your landscape?
That is not for me to decide.
Who decides that?
That would, well, that's the city. The city been planning and building.
Well,
Are you,
I read
what
that
street
the-
you on? Dodge Street? I don't know if historic architectural read is in that or not.
it's basically the trunk of the tree, it's not, you know,
I'm not that.
and it's correct.
I'm doing- All I get to do, number one, is to hear the case as to the violation of a specific ordinance. I'm giving you a chance to cure that. If you think you have evidence to show from an expert that removing that tree will somehow damage your property. And removing it before the next 90 days. Okay? And Ms. Lowe, is your case?
Yes, sir.
You need to stay in touch with her, get her contact information.
I do have her contact.
And I would suggest you do it before the next meeting, because you don't want to come here number three. Okay? What is that?
This is my notes for the case.
All right, what we'll do is just continue until the next.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. And let the record show that I have marked as respondent to the one photograph presented to me by which woman saw the subject. When was this photo dated? Thank you.
That was, like a few weeks ago,
When?
like a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago? Is this the way the property looks today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just add one more thing? That land that you see on the other side, that's a hazard right now that I have been keeping, mowing the grass and keeping clean since 2000.
That's what it was, okay? All right, thank you for coming. We'll get to that board. Next one up,
These are the same property owner or
we go to 900 River Street. All right. This is, case number 2023-106. Property located at 900 River Street. Address of the owner is Cypress Mills LLC, here Joseph Utras. And we have a representative. State your name for the record, please.
Mr. Brown, my name is Jim Troiano, Troiano, and I represent Mr. Joe Jutras. I provided an email this morning to the city that was provided by Mr. Jutras.
And I have that in the record. Thank you. And you're related to Mr. Cypress Mills and Mr. Jutras in what way?
We're business acquaintances. He lives out of the area, we're here in the area, and as friends, we've agreed to assist him in this matter.
All right. Could you raise your right hand for me? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today to be the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, Green?
Yes, sir. Violation is 30-169, building front and side of buttons of public areas. Motor mural on walls, sidewalk.
All right, that's a building violation, that's a code violation.
Yes, sir.
Let me back up on due process. Did we get a green card back?
We had to be called for the voluntary, last letter, but we could, I don't think they didn't give one for them.
Right, do we have the correct address?
Yes.
We have-
I have a new address, Mr. Brown, if I may provide.
okay. Well, what address can we send it to?
It's 11 Bittersweet Lane, Hamilton, Massachusetts, 01982.
Okay, that's Mr. Judas's address?
Yes, sir.
He didn't get it?
He did not receive notification for the hearing. He received notification as the voluntary notice that Mr. Green's mentioned. Now, he's moved and his mail is being forwarded to a new address.
Do you have this address?
The new action notes are up. It's like-
I have it. May I present it?
State for the record, please.
Yes, please.
Are you ready, ma'am?
Yes.
It is 8 Dracut, that's Dracut Street. In the town of Seabrook, Seaberook, New Hampshire, 03874.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you are now here representing the corporate owner, that's Cypress Mills LLC, correct?
That's correct.
All right, now, Mr. Green, we have a violation alleged of only one, section 3169, building fronts and sides of the public streets of public areas, mold and mildew on the walls. And pertinent citation appears to be mildew should be cleaned from buildings having street visibility. And no more than 10% of the building having street visibility may have mildew.
Yes,
You
sir.
have two proofs. You see it from the street,
Yes.
more than 10%. Please proceed.
Okay, the Federal Reserve 66-2023 North Carolina was set 76-23 Noble Green card for the return. Complex posting 76-2023 and the exact posting 76-2023.
Okay.
The one he just taken 66-2023.
All right, did you take a photograph you'd like to show us as demonstrative evidence?
Yes, sir.
And do the photographs accurately represent the condition of property data which you took?
Yes, sir.
This is property located on River Street.
Yes, sir. 900 routes.
Where is that on River Street?
We know the old radio station.
Yeah, no, WFO.
That's it. That's right there.
That's it?
Yes, it.
Okay. Please proceed.
1B, the 900 Road Street. We were taking 7-13-2023. Taking 66-23, this is 2A. This is the right side of the building. Right front. 2B, 7-13-2023, right front. This is 66-23-3A corner, left corner. This is 7-13-23, 3B, left corner. This is 66-23-4A, left, right side wall, right side wall.
And these are all visible from River Street.
Yes, sir. This is 4B, 7-13, right side wall.
So the city solution is
Oh.
it needs to be pressure washed?
Yes, sir. Brush and pressure wash.
Well, we've had more complex cases today. Can this be pressure washed?
Mr. Brown, I just received notification on this and we'll have it done within the next 2 weeks, if not sooner. Had we known, it would have been done.
How did it get to me? We need to communicate more. What is the deal?
So I sent it to the same exact address that I sent the voluntary compliance letter. And, I came back and Mr. Jim said it didn't, the notice of hearing that didn't come back. So evidently he forwarded his mail in between the notice of hearing and the 10-day voluntary compliance.
Mr. Brown, we'll make sure that this is not an issue. We work with the city, and we applaud these efforts that the city is taking here and, fully support code enforcement. And we'll be good partners. Take care of it.
Very good. I appreciate your candor and responsiveness. For the record, I'll find a violation of 3169 due to the mold and mildew on the wall that exceeds 10% of the coverage that seems to River Street. The city given 30 days. That's sufficient according to the respondent. When you've been in non-compliance, within 30 days, $25 day fine will begin on Friday, August 18th. And that will begin. And thank you for your patience. Sorry it took so long to get to this.
That's okay.
We've had more than our share of entertainment today. I remember it was a radio station, that's for sure. Three vestiges in there, the radio station.
I know there's radio
Towers.
the towers, there's 2 towers on the property. So if I may,
This is not
property,
relevant to the obvious career.
yeah, there are 2 towers on the property. Our intent is to, take care of properly, bring everything in code compliance, bring the towers down. We're methodically looking at a plan, for potential future development of this property. And of course, we want to be good partners with the city as we work through, each step of the process.
Appreciate your time. Sorry it took so long.
I have one more case in front of you, so
Oh, you're next.
I am.
Same process.
Are you just picking on me? What is this about?
Oh, if I go in the area, look around, if I see another violation on another property.
You are a troublemaker. Right.
He has not been in trouble.
Yeah, the next case is 722 River Street. And, hang on. That is the correct one, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this property, there also appears to be owned by Cypress Mills LLC, care of Joseph Jutras. Property number, the case number 2023-123. And I'm gonna ask you, it's a separate record. Give me your name and, address, please.
James Troiano, Troiano, business address of 2000 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177.
Are you a representative of Cypress Mills LLC?
Mr. Dutra, yes, sir.
That's your corporate name. And, you raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, we've got 5 alleged violations. Well, first being 3169 building fronts and sides, deteriorating structure. Is this for commercial property?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. It is.
Is it for commercial?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 30-171 windows, broken windows.
They corrected that violation.
I'm sorry?
They corrected that violation. They corrected that violation. They fixed it.
Okay, well, you need to tell me then what is it going to be, which ones are still in play?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and tell me.
The rest of them are 1 and then 3, 4, 5, they're still violations.
So only section 2 is that. So we had section 1, 30-169, building fronts and sides by the street of public areas, deteriorating structure. 3032A, creating condition of public nuisances, overgrown grass. 30-32A, prohibited condition of public nuisances, roofing and disrepair. 30-32A, prohibited condition of public nuisances, trash and debris. All right, show me what you have. You ready?
I thought first observed. Hold on.
Okay. You already did all that.
All right, did you take all the photographs you're about to show us?
Yes, sir.
And do they accurately represent the condition of park and data that you showed?
Yes.
Just as an opening statement, how long has this building been like this? Which Green, how long do you know this building?
Well, I know 4 years, maybe 5. I don't.
All right, did the city bring this one up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So show me what you have.
Okay, this is the roofing and disrepair. This is one with the panel, right in the front. Left side of the roof is missing, and then you got panel that's, missing this, supposed to be standing up.
All right, this is alleged violation of section 30-32A10. Roofing and disrepair,
Yes, sir.
and it says here, failure to replace or repair with similar or improved material in a reasonable period not to exceed 60 days, broken or missing components including not limited to doors, windows, roofing materials, siding, drives, walls outside of the right of way, which detract from the aesthetics of neighborhood, shopping area, industrial area, or any commercial area within the service district. So what fix is the city looking for?
Remove, repair, and replace.
I'm sorry?
Remove, repair, or replace.
Okay, you need to be more specific. It's pretty dramatic. So this is about the roof.
Yes.
So what you're saying is remove and replace that roof. Is that an intact separate building?
No, so that's the same section of building.
I'm sorry?
That's the same section of that building, same section.
All right, I'm not asking the building to which that roof is attached.
Yes, sir.
Is that a separate building?
Yes, sir. Well, no, it's the same building.
I have some pictures that we need to clarify.
Is this where the powerhouse was?
Yes, that's where that's where the furnace is.
You know, there was a till furnace in there with the driveway, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And so, Mr. Green, what you're saying is that building is a separate building. It's not the warehouse building. It's not the showroom building. It's the powerhouse.
The rest of that burned down and it collapsed, and that'd be
So
part of
the
it.
answer to that was yes.
And it'd be part of the deteriorated structure.
So the answer to the question was yes, that's the powerhouse building only that this violation applies.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. One of the things in law you learn from attorneys is, answer the question you're asked, Don't answer another question, but answer the question completely. That's all I'm asking. And so city's position is that entire roof needs to be replaced or just a section that's used.
Section is missing.
That's all it needs. What's it like on the other side?
I can get on the other side. The other side is probably woods and then they have, 12th Street or 13th Street.
Can you respond and tell me what it was like on the other side?
Equally as bad.
Okay, okay.
There's material there.
The roof on that building, that's. Show me those, is this the same building?
Yes, sir. This is taking 713 Street. This is 1B.
This is one B.
Yes, sir.
Go back to the top of that a minute. Is there some type of tower or? Is that a peak roof? How does that roof work? Does it come up to a peak like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The bottom and
I'm looking at structure back of it, that's another structure.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Same roof.
This is the other side of the building. This is coming down saying, River
Okay,
Street.
is this the same building?
No, sir.
Okay, this is another building.
No, this is the office building.
Okay, that's the office building. Is that building still a building? Is it intact?
No, sir. It's deteriorated.
Okay, so what are you asking him?
The roofing on this side, is the roofing, and then when we get to it, that's coming later with it, it's a deteriorated structure.
Right. So that's a deteriorated roof, disrepair.
Yes.
On that building.
Yes, the office.
So this is the second building, yeah, very good, that's good, I'm getting it delineated. All right, show me what you have next.
This is another picture. This is 2B. This is taking 713 Trinity Street.
This is also the office building?
Yes, you can see the front round part of the office.
So this is a photo taken with a longer distance of the same
Yes, sir.
as the previous photo.
Yes, sir. A wider. This is the deteriorated structure. This is saying the back of the office building, I would say. Attached to the office
So
building. This is the
what do
back.
you want done with that structure? What's compliance with the city? I'm sorry?
Mr. Brown, myself and, Mr. Jim Turner, we have been in conversation about what they're gonna try to do to bring the building in compliance. One of the reasons why I was here today was also to make sure the building was secure and all possible entry areas that we could see was secure and sealed. And then they have a plan to do further renovations and remodeling and demolitions on certain buildings. So that's the reason why. That right there, the structure right there, as long as all the entry areas that we can notice and see that has safety concerns are secure on this picture, that would be a suffice remedy at the time.
Well, again, you're bringing it to me. I'm asking questions to see what you want to do. And if there's a violation, fine. I mean, it's a deteriorating structure. I can almost tell you the picture speaks for itself, but I'll let Mr. Green explain why it's deteriorating for the record. But the end game is demolition.
Yes, demolition and yes, that's in game to demolition. The conversation that we had,
Because the city had asked for 120 days to bring the property into compliance.
that was
What does the city want to see happen within the next 120 days?
secured. Oh,
Security, have a security, always way secure.
Okay. What needs to be done, I'm looking at 138, what needs to be done in that building as it sits there on a photo from June 6th.
Look like this.
Secure it.
Yes.
What needs to be done?
You let the other security, it's a new, plywood right there against that, and then the door has been closed.
You're basically looking at doors and windows.
Yes,
That's it for that.
yes.
Go back to, this is what, is this still the showroom?
It's back to
Office
show.
showroom?
Yes, it's the back.
Office.
The office, yes.
And go back a couple, please. That's part of the office, so we're talking about the same thing.
There's two
We have
structures.
the boiler room. We have the office.
There's two structures.
Two structures. And so this structure on 2B, I mean, the end game for the city of that is to fix that roof. Unless they do something else.
Yes,
Okay. Keep going. You need to secure, how about securing the roof? You're talking about fixing it. Just securing the hole, fixing it.
Secure.
And then looking at 3B, we're talking about securing the openings so
Yes,
people can't get in there.
yes, sir.
All right. Is there any other place in that building where you can get in from the outside?
Not that I can see from roofs.
Yes.
It's another picture. This is 4A, it's a closer picture of the interior and stuff.
Gotcha. What do you want done to that?
Same thing, secure.
So how does one do that? What's the city looking for as a way to secure that?
We like to have it secure the doors right there.
I'm sorry?
We like to have it secure the doors.
secure the doors, apply some type of tarp or anything over the top of the roof to make sure we have no easy access into the building. And then, like I said, we have conversations of further demo in the whole.
You see what I'm getting at? He just needs to know what you need to do. You don't want to come down deadline somewhere down the road and he doesn't have any idea what it is. But, you know, he can't shoot at an inventory. You need to be able to tell him exactly what you need to have done. Show me that. And this has to do with,
The same thing, just in a wider shot.
so basically, what you've shown me, deteriorating structures and roofing and disrepair. Where, have you shown me anything that's got broken windows or no windows?
No, the windows were repaired.
Keep going. Wait, okay, back on this picture. What about this picture? Needs
That's a wider shot.
And what do you want done in that picture?
The same thing with this,
I'm sorry?
secure the structure and put a tarpaulin thing with a roof. It's open, the window.
Does this have anything to do with overgrown grass, you lake violation?
No,
So he has 32.
the grass is coming
How high can he lift the grass?
18 inches.
He'd be uniform at 8. Okay.
Later.
Yeah,
And this right here, the trash and debris and the overgrown grass. You see in the back, you have the mound of concrete and others.
it's man-made.
Yes, sir, and the grass is 18 inches.
This is 5A, violations of 30-32A1, 30-32. Right next.
This is 5B713, trash and debris and overgrown grass.
Same area.
Yes, sir.
Next.
That's it, sir.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So were there any broken windows in this?
No, sir.
Okay, you took that one out.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got it. Have you played yet? What's your response to this one?
So, Mr. Brown, if I may, and truly, we've been here a long time today, so I'd like to expedite this the best I can. I have a presentation that I'd like to provide this presentation if I can to the city. It's under Wilson Cypress. We don't need to show it, but if I may, Mr. Brown, I'd like to give you a copy of what I've just presented to the city.
I'll mark that as response.
And so, for the record, we have worked with the city since day one. If I may, I just have a brief timeline that I'd like to enter into the record. So in December of 2021, thereabout, the Florida Furniture Factory was a victim of an arson. Majority of the buildings were destroyed by fire. There was an investigation that was done by the State Fire Marshal's office. And Mr. Jutras, as the owner of the property, he was asked at the time by the fire marshal not to do anything with the existing buildings that were there. The buildings that were part of the destruction were pulled apart and piled up there. And you've seen some of the piles that are out in the yard itself. After a March 10th, 2023 article that was in the Palatka Daily News, where the city was talking about blighted properties, we first then identified the Florida Furniture Factory as being on the list identified by the city. And it was that day that we came down, and I should say thereabout, came down and talked to the city manager about our next steps that we needed because we wanted to be good partners. Let me just, since you're going to use it, if you don't mind, I'll just start with this. There's two different colored properties that are here.
This is a segment from the
Property appraisers.
Sun Drive. And this is the property appraisers. Original.
Yes,
GIS.
So the items in dark represent, the shaded dark tan represents Cypress Mills LLC. These are the two LLCs that make up the property ownership.
And this is the first image on the drawing, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And then the second, the lighter tan, is Anastasia Square LLC, again, both LLCs managed by Mr. Jutras. And we're going to predominantly, Mr. Brown, talk about this area here on the property. Next slide, please. Here it is again. I've just taken a Google shot of the property. This is the main area that we're looking at. Here is actually the buildings that we're going to be looking at in the next minute. Next slide. So on my timeline, we were notified by reading the article in the paper. We talked to the city manager, we spoke to the fire marshal's office and learned that the case had been closed in December, we believe, of the year before. Mr. Jutras wasn't notified that he could then take action on this property. On the 17th of this year, a courtesy letter was mailed by the Code Enforcement Department to Mr. Jutras about the property at 722 River Street.
Let me ask a clarifying question. And the first bullet number on the brief timeline talks on December 21st, 40 furniture factory victim yards, and structures not damaged left to rest be demolished. The property owner, Mr. Jutras, was asked by the fire marshal not to take any action with the two remaining buildings. Does ask mean order? Does that mean that he cannot take action?
It was part of an ongoing criminal investigation, and since he was asked not to take any action as the investigation was still continuing.
Has that criminal investigation been?
It has, yes. On the 17th, we did receive the letter. In beginning of May, we went out on our own and asked for demolition quotes. We received 2 quotes to demolish the 2 buildings that were there, the 2 remaining structures. Our first proposal was received on April the 11th. And then our second was on May the 12th. On May the 26th, we asked for a meeting with the city code enforcement staff to discuss next steps. And believe me, we have been collaborative in our efforts moving forward. On June the 1st, we did meet with city staff in this room. On the 6th, Mr. Jutras received his letter outlining the code violation. And on the 29th, we notified Mr. Green, Officer Green, that the 2 buildings were secured. Through our cooperation with the city, we identified, Mr. Cutright said, the need to secure the buildings. Next slide. And so we did. This is the view. If you can look at the top left of this building, that's the picture that Mr. Green took that he zoomed in on. This is the overall image of that building with the overhang.
So did you take this photo?
I did, yes, Your Honor.
It represents the condition of the property David took it,
It does, yes.
and that date was lived
I want to say that was in May sometime.
of this year.
Yes, that's correct. All these pictures were taken this year. Next picture. This is
What are we trying to show by this?
just to show the property, the way it looks, and then our intent that we want to deal with the property, how we'd like to adjust it. This is the back side, so this is a side view of that building you just looked at. And the brick on the left is the back of the office complex. And there's the wheel that you mentioned previously, Mr. Brown. Next slide. This is the side of the office that's remaining. You can see it's been spray painted with the address 722. Next. Again, very similar to the picture that Mr. Green took, showing the side of the building as well as a debris pile. Next, please. Again, just a close-up of the debris piles. This debris came from the demolition efforts when the building was destroyed by fire. Next, please. And then here is the furnace that's inside the production building. That's be a topic of discussion at the end. That's really the only thing that's left in that big building with the roof damage. Next. Again, just a picture for the record of the first letter that we received on April the 17th, inviting us to discuss with the city. Next. The code violation letter that Mr. Jutras, received. Next. Next again. So the corrective action of the things that we've taken so far, based on repair, replace, remove structure. So first, we've determined that we will not be replacing or removing the structure. I'm sorry, not replacing or removing it. We're going to have it demolished. Other than the boarding up of the windows and the doors, we have yet to secure.
You're not replacing or removing the structure?
We're not going to remove it. We're going to demolish it. So we're not going to be moving it to somewhere else. We're going to, better choice of words would be, it will be demolished.
In some way, removing demolition has the same effect, but you.
We're gonna take it out in
you could pick it
small
up
pieces and have it removed. Due to the property being a designated brownfield, we've asked with the assistance of council in St. Augustine, we are actively working to secure state and federal grant funding for this cleanup. Our understanding is, understanding our options is key to this process. Why? Because we are looking at future development for this property. The funding, if awarded, is a reimbursement only for work completed, and we do understand that. As Mr. Green stated, number 2 is no longer relevant, as we did, at the request of the city, board up the windows and the doors. Since our meeting with the city, we have asked for updated proposals from our demolition companies because we did not realize when we first asked for the proposals that the debris piles had to be removed. So now we've asked both of the companies to come back and update their proposals for us.
If you weren't gonna remove them, what were you gonna do with them?
We didn't know ultimately we were going to use it for debris fill for construction later. That was our intent.
So is that still an intent or is that now off the table?
It may still be an intent. Maybe we have to have it stored somewhere else. I just, the understanding part, understanding our key options to this process, Mr. Brown's is the biggest thing for us. There are so many variables in front of us. We don't want to undertake steps that cost us more money. We understand that there's value in that fill. Being able to use it for future development would be very beneficial, but it's also important for us to ensure that the property is brought into compliance. We will be, the initial proposals were for the mowing of the grass and weeds at the site, and we have not identified a company yet to do that work. And finally, determining, again, we will not be saving the roof or the building, but we're uncertain of the status of the boiler. Mr. Jutrus's father, Norn's vision was to keep that boiler and that wheel for something to be incorporated potentially into future development. So we're uncertain as to what we want to do with that. Our intent now is to remove it, but we will engage conversation with the city as far as what we can do with the retaining of the boiler. The building is going to go away. We just don't know. We're going to look to the city for some guidance on the boiler itself. Next slide, please. Mr. Brown, all these are is to show that this was an access point. We have secured it with lumber and put a lock on it with a cable lock just to secure it. Next slide. This is the back again, just showing that we used plywood to secure it. Next slide. This is the rear of that building. Again, plywood just showing compliance. And one last slide, I believe. Again, this is the inside of the boiler room. The furnace is on the right, and we used plywood to secure that.
What were these remediation measures to secure the building completed?
We sent the email, I want to say, to the city on the email was sent on the 29th, so it was just prior to that. And on the 29th of the email we sent had the pictures that we
The city
contained.
gets the email?
Yes, sir.
All right, so does the city have a compliance problem at that point?
No, we've been no security, no,
Okay,
been no security.
okay, that's why you took that one off. So the deteriorating structure issue is something other than that.
And last slide. And so in closing, we've initiated contact and began working with the city before receiving any written notification. We're actively working with legal counsel in St. Augustine to find the best methods to secure grants and to help with the cleanup costs associated with brownfields. We've asked for our proposals for demolition site to be updated to include the removal of debris piles. We have secured the 2 buildings, with wood and cable locked to prevent unauthorized personnel from entering. And we'll continue working with the city. It is our pledge to bring this property into compliance with the identified code sections that have been mentioned. So, Mr. Brown, our intent is to take action as quickly as possible, but we're again examining the steps of grant reimbursement. We understand the buildings have to come down. We just needed a little extra time to go through the exploration of what can be in front of us.
For the sake of argument, how much time is that?
I would say that the 120 days would be certainly beneficial to us to have. I think we're very close as to identifying the grant schedule and the processes associated with it. And we've also received indication from our demolition companies that the work can be done probably within a month. So our goal is to continue notifying the city of our steps. We don't want to continue this process and push it out any farther than it has to. And that's our commitment to the city.
It's Greenberg with that.
Perfectly fine with it.
Okay. The city, you had originally recommended what, 120 days?
Yes.
For this. So what I'm hearing is, yes, the structure deteriorated, but it's been secured. The city satisfied that it's been secured and it no longer poses a risk to people trying to get inside.
Yes.
Within 120 days, the mowing grass is going to go. And you've got one little area of debris that the city decided. I don't know what you can do about that within that time frame. That's all they're looking for. Just look at that. The roofing in disrepair, and Lisa, this got to go through historic review, it's adjacent to a district, but it's not in the district. I got that one right. It's districts in back of it and to the north of it,
To the north.
north and west. It's west. No, it doesn't go west of it. Just back. Thank you. You're trying to orient. So you're out of her purview, which is great for you. If you clean it, the thing would help, make sure you get the property cleared and clean, and whatever you end up doing with it. The roofing disrepair, I mean, I don't know what they can do in 120 days. If you come in and say you want to demolish it in 120 days, and they get a demolition from
That'd
it,
be
would
fine.
that satisfy
Yes.
us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that brownfield thing going to get in the way of the?
It shouldn't. Our concern is for the furnace inside. The furnace may contain asbestos. It may have lead paint. And so part of the proposals that we have received is to evaluate the two items. It's our understanding that it's not the case from work that had been done back in '04. However, we want to be 100% certain. So part of that process is to identify if it is, we'll need a little additional time and to hire an appropriate contractor to come in and abate the asbestos.
Here's what I suggest we do. I want to find the violation of 3169, the deteriorating structure. 30-32A, due to the overgrown grass, which would be mowed, city standard is 18 inches. Uniform. Roofing and disrepair would be solved if you get a demolition permit. That's a solution.
Yes.
Green agrees with that. And 30-32A concerning the trash and debris is simply taking out the trash and debris. Do that within 120 days, which will be Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. And the event of non-compliance is $25 a day per violation, $100 a day for all four of them. Hopefully, it'll never come to that. In the event of non-compliance by Thursday, November 16th, 2023. There's no administrative fee.
Could you repeat the dates for me one more
Yeah,
time?
November 15th, 2023 is the compliance date. November 16th is the fine date. It's $25 per violation that's still outstanding. Right? You're good.
And there is no outstanding fines for the property, right? Okay. And that'd be
The
$100.
city doesn't want the money, I can tell you. They just want to get the compliance.
You do too.
And this is, you know, it's personal observation, it's not a part of the final decision. This property's been languishing for a long time. And I know Mr. Jupiter's passing hasn't helped with this. And it is something that a lot of people would like to see addressed. I think the city is motivated by getting something done. And I know economic conditions are what they are. There's been all kinds of issues with contractors. The various virus pandemics that fly around the countryside, but this has been something that people have been waiting for a while. Right now, the solution appears to be some minor cleanup and a demolition permit. I don't know if you get a demolition permit within 120 days, is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they've been moving pretty smoothly here lately.
Make sure you apply for it as soon as possible.
Our contractor, whoever we hire, that's part of the parameters of the proposal.
Who's doing the ground work?
The attorney, Sid Onsworth.
Well, Mr. Arnbach, that's what he does for a living. He's statewide practice in environmental law. He's quite good at it. He's a scholar in it here and so if anybody gets one, he could probably do that. All right, Anything else, guys? All right, we got an address for the.
Yes.
Thank you for your attendance today. Thank you for everyone's attendance, and that it is 4:29, and we shall adjourn today's meeting. You all.